Hi, welcome to ZC1, your best online. Today the document titled, Celestial Invasion, would be aired. Stay close to your device. The login link is ZC1 your best online. Thank you all for tuning in to ZC1 your best online. Thanks for calling ZC1 your best online.
I would like to thank ZC1 for the airing of the program and the document.
Thank you very much. ZC1, your best online.
Hi, good day. What is the name of the rhythm that is playing?
The name of the rhythm that is playing is the Cool Dread Rhythm. It was produced at Science Connection Production Studio. Time to pay some bills. Want the best wine? Want Winston Dubois Bad Roots wine with quality like gold. Get the best vegetables from Ken Wayne Dance. Best vegetables, best price. Hello ZC1, your best online.
Can I hear the track Moving Forward by Ruben Eyes?
Yes, you will get part of it, as the document is about to start. Hope you understand.
That is okay, I am looking forward to the document as well.
ZC1, your best online, coming in with the track Moving Forward by Ruben Eyes.
Bring my sons and daughters from afar, even from the four corners of the earth, you know. Well, probably well started, simplicity. Mark a visit from His Majesty. Enemy then he acts, what tried you from? One man stood up and answered, that's how we gone. Say so. We're moving forward. Moving forward. We're moving forward now. We're moving forward on to Zion. Moving forward. Moving forward. Moving forward now. Moving forward on to Zion. Red, gold, and green. Flying high. Faith, hope, and charity. That's alright. Believe religion. For what it's worth. Believe the principles of the kingdom. There on earth. Say so. We're moving forward. Moving forward. We're moving forward now. We're moving forward on to Zion. Moving forward. Moving forward. Moving forward now.
It is getting to that time to start the document, Celestial Invasion. Remember, click the link on your device. At the end of the Cool Dread Rhythm, click the link.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for attending today's lecture. Well, let's get right into the document.
That's right.
Introduction. The document is meant to bring awareness towards establishing the fact that the alien theory is friction and of a satanic agenda, which has the influence of Freemasonry compounded, with its procrastination about the subject has encouraged the production of this document. Emphasis would be laid on the elite people, societies, and organization who are involved in this plot. It is conjectured that this alien theory is another attachment by Satan to use and manipulate the human race to his advantage, in fighting the truth and right logic of God. The document illustrates the character and attitude of people towards committing themselves to this theory in believing that aliens are responsible for creative acts on Earth, also as mentioned by a person who believes that she is of alien origin. This instance confirms the fact of their belief. The subjects of space exploration and habitation would be viewed for the mentioning of alien life and having contact with alien beings. Acknowledgement. Acknowledgement towards this document is for people to stay grounded in the noting of the scriptures and the doing of principalities pertaining to the achievement of living gracefully to be approved for entrance into the kingdom of God. Support is given to motivate people in preparing themselves to be anchored in the doctrine of goodness and righteousness, also to sharpen awareness in being alert towards this worldly theory that aliens are responsible for creative acts on Earth. The document is to allow people to come to terms with themselves in the determination of the theory and fact of alien existence and their contribution in effect of the ambience of the Earth and the contents. Table of Contents. Chapter 1, Universe. Chapter 2, Alienism. Chapter 3, Fallen Angels. Chapter 4, NASA. Chapter 5, Life in Space. Chapter 6, The Deception. Chapter 7, Agenda. Chapter 8, The Plot. Chapter 9, Alternatives. Chapter 10, Confirmation. Chapter 1, Universe. The universe as acknowledged is one of God's creative acts, among other creative acts, assuming the volume of the universe is a figure equal to infinite capacity. Exploring the universe to the effect of sourcing its length and width is an endless search, which would be termed as an infinite search. Wikipedia definition on this subject is as follows. According to estimation of this theory, space and time emerged together 13.799 plus or minus 0.021 billion years ago, and the universe has been expanding ever since. While the spatial size of the entire universe is unknown, the cosmic inflation equation indicates that it must have a minimum diameter of 23 trillion light-years, and it is possible to measure the size of the observable universe, which is approximately 93 billion light-years in diameter at the present day. In this statement it is not affirmed to the definitive of the size of the universe. The statement gives estimation, approximation, and the fact of expansion with the progress of time. Therefore, knowing the exact figure of the size of the universe would remain unknown, as the universe expands in volume, therefore infinite due to the expansion process. The statement, however, did not give detail about alien existence. On this note, a light year is termed as a unit of astronomical distance equivalent to the distance that light travels in 1 year, which is 9.4607 times 10 to the 12th power kilometers, nearly 6 million miles. What is known about the universe is what was made available to us by exploration and research, with the option of ongoing exploration and research due to the nature and capacity of the universe. Likewise, having knowledge of the age of the universe would not be known, along with the bringing into existence of creative acts, as this kind of information belongs to God. Creative acts of God that was done in the universe are time, space, stars, planets, galaxy, energy, matter, sun, moons, solar system, gravity, Milky Way, electromagnetic radiation, molecules, dust, space rocks, comets, asteroids, black holes, nebulae. With reference to definitions, there is no confirmation of alien existence stated. Accompanying the fact of the creation and existence of the universe is the Big Bang Theory. What is the Big Bang Theory? is the prevailing cosmological model explaining the existence of the universe from the earliest known period through its subsequent large-scale evolution. The model describes how the universe expanded from an initial state of high density and temperature. The meaning of the Big Bang theory is satanic, as no credit is given to God for his creative acts. The theory explains that the universe expanded from an initial state of high density and temperature. God created the universe. This is a theory to distract and misconduct people from God, his word and works. Also, the theory did not confirm alien existence. Satan, in his quest to destroy God's works, have a lot of attachments working on that level of destruction in diverse ways. He is arrogant towards his judgment and is using people in his quest to explore the universe, seeking loopholes with mischievous intent. He would get cooperation from people as the incentive relates to prestige, honor and money. Big Bang Theory. The Big Bang Theory came about by a Belgian Catholic priest named Georges Lemaire, who was a cosmologist, mathematician, astronomer, and professor of physics. This is actually a Catholic priest denying God and his works, or he is trying to analyze how God created the universe. The Bible directly states God created all things. The Catholic priest, in the nature of his theory, did not credit and glorify God as the creator, which is a fact to take notice of, and supporting the fact is the instance of him having the Bible in his hand and not referencing the facts stated in the Bible. With this view, the theory is satanic. Pope Pius XII referred to the theory of the origin of the universe as a scientific validation of the Catholic faith. Lemaitre said, "As far as I can see, such a theory remains entirely outside any metaphysical or religious question. It leaves the materialist free to deny any transcendental being for the believer. It removes any attempt at familiarity with God. It is consonant with Isaiah speaking of the hidden God, hidden even in the beginning of the universe. He is saying here that the creation of the universe is consonant with the hidden God. In this case, in his description of the Big Bang Theory, he could have said that, how the description of the Big Bang Theory is stated, the expression gives the impression that the universe evolved and expanded from high density and temperature." Pope Francis said, "The beginning of the world is not the work of chaos that owes its origin to something else, but it derives directly from a supreme principle that creates out of love, the Big Bang, that today is considered to be the origin of the world, does not contradict the creative intervention of God. On the contrary, it requires it." With reference to the Pope's statement, there are two stages of creation, which are the original chaos interpretation. This is the stage where the earth was without form and void. As in, the elements were in chaos to the effect that they were not arranged in the format of what we bear witness. The other stage of creation is the divine judgment. With this stage of creation, the elements are arranged. The divine judgment represents the decision that God made to arrange the element. The Pope is also saying that creation requires the impact of the Big Bang. That statement is not in alignment with the scriptures, as the scriptures clearly states that God created all things by his word. Creative acts need the word of God to be created. Creative acts do not need the Big Bang impact, as how the Pope addressed the subject. Pope Francis was speaking at the Pontifical Academy of Sciences. He said that the Big Bang and evolution are not contrary to Catholic beliefs. Pope John Paul II, who said, "New knowledge has led to the recognition of the theory of evolution as more than a hypothesis." It is indeed remarkable that this theory has been progressively accepted by researchers, following a series of discoveries in various fields of knowledge. The convergence, neither sought nor fabricated, of the results of work that was conducted independently is in itself a significant argument in favor of the theory. Pope Francis also said, when we read the creation story in Genesis we run the risk of imagining that God was a magician, with a magic wand which is able to do everything. But it is not so. He created beings and let them develop according to internal laws which He gave everyone, so they would develop, so they would reach maturity. In Genesis God said, "Let us make man in our image and our likeness." Adam and Eve were created but did not evolve after they were created. God created them by His word. This point on evolution is put forward to illustrate how fabricated information is filtered to the public to believe. Also, this is forwarded to the alien concept. Steady-state theory. The steady-state theory. This theory was introduced by Sir James Jeans in the 1920s, but in 1948 it was enhanced by Fred Hoyle, Thomas Gold, and Herman Bondi. The nature of the theory is as follows. The steady-state theory is based on philosophical logic, not scientific logic, but unlike the Big Bang, it suggests an eternal universe, not one that was created in time. This theory is based on the cosmological principle, which contained opinions by Albert Einstein. The theory is based on the fact that the universe is homogeneous, which means smooth and looks the same from any angle in the universe. It is conjectured by the theory that the area of space, about 100 meters square, once a year a new atom comes into existence, old stars and galaxies die, new ones are born and formed by the constant regeneration of matter. Oscillation theory. Another theory is the oscillation theory. The theory states that there may have been many consecutive Big Bangs. Between each Big Bang was a crunch at which the universe expanded to its limit and collapsed. The oscillation theory is also called the Big Bounce. Chaotic inflation. An alternative theory is the chaotic inflation theory, which suggests that the universe is expanding. Chaotic inflation theory is a variety of the inflationary universe model. Chaotic inflation theory is itself an outgrowth or extension of the Big Bang theory. Chaotic inflation was introduced by physicist André Linde. The theory states that evolution of a scalar field determining the energy of the vacuum correspond to regions of rapid inflation which dominate, creating bubble universes, making the structure of space fractal on the very largest scales, likely at scales larger than the universe. Chaotic inflation is usually a subclass of eternal inflation, since the expansion of the inflationary peaks which dominate the large-scale dynamics of the universe. Then there is the bouncing cosmological model, suggests that the universe expanded from a single point with gravity and density culminating into infinity. The bouncing cosmology. Bouncing cosmology accounts not only for expansion, but also contraction of the universe. Plasma or electric universe theory. This theory was introduced by Hans Alfvén, which states that gravity does not have the credit as applied to plasma and electromagnetism. Plasma is integral in cosmological events and the fundamental order of the universe, proposing electric currents that flow along plasma filaments which are credited for the shaping and generating of galaxies. The black hole theory. The black hole theory suggests the universe popped out of a black hole from another universe. Nikodem Poplawski said, "The observable universe is the interior of a black hole existing as one of possibly many inside a larger parent universe or multiverse." The simulation theory. The simulation theory is an ontology theory that explains that what we think is there is simulated. There is a lot more related to ontology, meaning that things have an intrinsic nature. Regardless of the theories, the fact of the matter is that it is evident that God created the universe. With reference to the descriptions of the above, there is no credit given to God, it is scientific and theoretical with determinations that are self-optimistic. On this account there is no mentioning of alien existence. Also, Satan is using these people to deceive, manipulate, and distract people from the truth of the fact that God is the creator of the universe. The question is, why are all these theories towards the universe? The obvious view is that knowledge is sorted about the universe for analysis to combat the judgment of Satan's destiny to hell, in the respect of sourcing a way out of the universe to configure the Word of God. This is related to Satan's attempt to win the throne. In this case, configuring the judgment is working both ways, to eliminate the lake of fire judgment and to win the throne. Satan is using people in different capacities and professions to administer his plot to win the battle he is confronting God with, to win the throne. The above theories should assume that fact with reference to Satan plot and ambition. Chapter 2. Alienism. The foundation of the alien concept was generated in the 1950s by Harold T. Wilkins, who was a British journalist. He also presented theories about Atlantis. He claims that extraterrestrial beings have visited Earth, influencing the development of human cultures, human biology, technologies, and religions. The idea about paleocontact or ancient astronaut came about in the late 19th to early 20th century by Harold T. Wilkins, who also influenced the hollow earth theory, as he claimed to discover descendants of Atlantis to tunnels in South America. The point in question is the fact that Harold T. Wilkins did not confirm that he had audio or visual contact with aliens. Here are their basic points. Extraterrestrials created Homo sapiens through genetic engineering of hominids. Extraterrestrials inspired and guided mankind's first civilizations and spurred the development of our technologies. Extraterrestrials are the gods mentioned in ancient texts and inspired the creation of our religions. Extraterrestrial factions, according to so-called ancient alien theorists, are at war with each other, with us in the middle as manipulated proxies. With reference to the statement, quote, extraterrestrials are the gods mentioned in ancient texts and inspired the creation of our religions, according to the scriptures, he is referring to the fallen angels. For this kind of statement is the reason why I said that this alien theory is a satanic attachment to take people away from God, His Word, and His works. Like this alien theory, there are other attachments in the system that serve as misconduct in some way or the other. The alien theory have grossed alien society activities such as I Am religious activity founded in 1930 by Guy Ballard. The title of the organization, the term I Am, is a reference to the ancient Sanskrit mantras Soham, meaning I am that I am. This term, and the description, is not to be contrasted with the title of God in the scriptures, as God in the Bible is termed and titled as I am that I am. The movement believes in the existence of a group called the Ascended Masters. The Ascended Masters are believed to be humans who have lived in a succession of reincarnations in physical bodies or as cosmic beings. Many of the members of the I Am community consider it to be a Christian religion. The movement believes in the theory of hierarchy of supernatural beings that are acknowledged to them as the original theosophical masters they refer to as Jesus Christ, El Morya Khan, Maitreya. There are more theosophists that are regarded. Aetherius Society, founded by George King, is a syncretic religion, based on theosophy and millenarian, New Age, also UFO religious details. The religion includes the activities of altruism, community service, nature worship, spiritual healing and physical exercise. Members meet in congregations like those similar to Basic Assembly Fellowship. The Aetherius Society compounds the diversities of UFO claims, yoga, and ideas from world religions. Also, they incorporate the culture of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Christianity. The religion's goal is to avoid world destruction by improving cooperation between humanity and alien masters, by using spiritual energy to improve the spiritual caliber of the world. George King claimed that extraterrestrial intelligences are cosmic masters. This is another instance of crediting the fallen angels. In this case, they are called cosmic masters. These societies are designed to encourage people to believe in another concept other than the doctrine of God. Heaven's Gate, a new religious movement, often described as a cult, was founded in 1974 by Bonnie Nettles and Marshall Applewhite. The theology of Heaven's Gate is a mixture of Christian millenarianism, New Age, and ufology, and therefore titled as a UFO religion. The belief of the group is followers can transform themselves into immortal extraterrestrial beings by rejecting their human profile, and they would ascend to heaven, referred to as the next level or the evolutionary level above human. On March 26, 1997, the bodies of 39 members of the group, including that of Applewhite, was found in a house in San Diego, Rancho Santa Fe. They took part in a mass suicide, which was termed as ritual suicides. Just before the mass suicide, the group's website was updated with this message: Hale Bach brings closure to Heaven's Gate. Our 22 years of classroom here on planet Earth is finally coming to conclusion. Graduation from the human evolutionary level. We are happily prepared to leave this world and go with TI's crew. Another example that illustrates that Satan is a liar, acting as an angel with another doctrine to destroy people in principle, which is a lifestyle apart from the way of God. The Order of the Solar Temple is a cult and religious sect that base its ideals from the Knight Templar. The Order of the Solar Temple was founded by Joseph de Mambro and Luc Jouret in 1984 in Geneva. The Order of the Solar Temple was associated with a series of murders and mass suicides in 1994 and 1995. The spiritual belief of the organization is pivoted towards the second coming of Christ as a solar God King, and the unification of Christian churches and Islam. The group got inspiration from Aleister Crowley, who is a prominent occultist. The temple's fellowship is compounded with the attachments of Christianity, UFO religion, and New Age philosophy, also using Freemason rituals. The Order of the Solar Temple central authority was the Synarchy of the Temple. Its 33 members were known as the Elder Brothers of the Rosy Cross, another name for the Rosicrucians. The location of the headquarters is in Zurich, Switzerland. The Council of the Order formed lodges that were run by a regional commander and 3 elders. The lodges had altars, and members were initiated in ceremonies which included jewelry, costumes, rituals, and payment of initiation fees. During the ceremonies, members wore crusader-type robes and were to hold a sword, which de Mambro said was an authentic Templar artifact, given to him 1,000 years ago in a previous life. These organizations are mentioned for reference to the prerogative of the Alien Society membership. There are more societies. Observing the nature of the protocol, this alien movement is satanic, especially with the above reference where Satanism is intermingled in the activities. The initial modern-day activity of the alien movement is conducted by Erich von Däniken and Zecharia Sitchin, known as Ancient Aliens. They fostered the theory of ancient astronauts hypothesis, past human extraterrestrial contact, UFOs, government conspiracies, and related pseudoscientific topics, such as remote viewing and psychic phenomena, Zecharia Sitchin in his document The 12th Planet, suggests that extraterrestrial beings visited Earth in prehistoric times and taught the human race, civilization, architecture and technology, mathematics, science, technology and stone construction are attributed to the influence of extraterrestrials. Viewing the description to this point, it is obvious that they are crediting the fallen angels to this effect. The fallen angels are credited for the education of the human race. To this analysis, the aliens are the fallen angels. Eric von Däniken also states that, anatomically, modern humans are the result of genetic modification and/or are somehow biologically descended from the ancient aliens. His denial is towards God, word and works. These people are angels that Satan transformed into angels of light to deceive many. In the statement, he does not give affirmation to the fact of being biologically descended. Again, no information is provided to support the fact of alien doctrine to confirm their claims. Claims of belief would be as follows: the Dogon people were given galactic knowledge by a star god. The Hopi and Zuni celebrations of Kachinas or gods from the sky are symbolized with headdresses that resemble modern space helmets, and the Chinese Huangdi they believe was a Han leader who came to Earth on a yellow dragon, which is a metaphor for a spaceship. Sumerian tablets describe the Anunnaki as a race of creatures who came to Earth to mine gold. Egyptian hieroglyphs are said to depict hybrid creatures that are part man, part animal, and crystal skulls and crop circles that are said to contain messages from aliens. There are tales of gods interacting with humans, imparting wisdom and technology and impregnating women to create demigods, who are the offspring of human and alien unions. This description is in contrast to the fallen angels that impregnated women, and in so doing making giants known as the Nephilim. There is a belief that aliens caused disasters in the Bible, such as Noah and the flood, also that extraterrestrials contacted humans such as Moses, to inspire him to do great things. They also suggest that the Garden of Eden is an alien laboratory for the creation of mankind. The question was asked, why are humans so different from other life forms on Earth? And the answer is, there are advances in human evolution which is the work of interstellar beings. They also say that dinosaurs were wiped out, not by an asteroid impact, but by alien extermination so that humans only would inhabit the Earth. They also claim that animals were placed on Earth as an experiment to shape life itself. This alien theory is definitely a satanic attachment. They are boldly eliminating God as the creator of all things. Again, a doctrine of another angel. Kenneth Feder, professor of archaeology and author of Frauds, Myths, and Mysteries, Science and Pseudoscience in Archaeology, was questioned about the alien theory. He said, "My response was, I'd be happy to be on your show, but you should know that I think that the ancient astronaut hypothesis is execrable bullshit." He added, "I haven't heard back from them," rather remarkably. So, I guess maybe they're not interested in the other point of view. Jordan Kinley, a producer, said, "You feel kind of lost when someone questions the historical narrative you've been taught. I don't believe much of what's talked about, but I think it's a good time for people to realize that some of our history is manufactured. Some of it is manufactured to be accurate, and some of it is manufactured to excuse horrible things that have happened. This alien theory is a fabrication used by Satan for his use. Satan is interested in carrying people to the lake of fire by turning people away from God, His Word and His works. Belief of the alien society is astounding and evil. They up to now did not mention the name of the planet that the aliens reside." Ronald Reagan, the 33rd degree Freemason, said, "In our obsession with antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside, universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. In this statement, he is suggesting alien intervention to help solve Earth discrepancies, which statement give encouragement into the belief of the alien theory. In so doing, the statement is serving towards the satanic agenda to misconduct people to believe in a culture apart from God, hence the motive of the Freemasons, other than to introduce the New World Order system. Henry Kissinger at the Bilderberg Conference, France, 1991, if they were told that there was an outside threat from beyond, an alien invasion, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence, it is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown. When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. Here the affiliation of aliens visiting the Earth is associated with the world government. The contrast is that they are terming the fallen angels as aliens, the head of the world government or New World Order is Satan, and a lot is done by the Freemasons. Henry Kissinger belongs to the Swiss Grand Lodge Alpina, and he is a member of the Cosmos Club. Norio Hayakawa, a UFO investigator and lecturer, said, "This plan is called Project Panic and that high-technology equipment will be used to create an optical illusion of a UFO invasion. This will give governments and the United Nations the excuse to call a global state of emergency, and all those emergency powers and executive orders will be implemented." This statement is giving more light and meaning to the alien theory. He said that it is a fabrication to enhance the influence of world dominion pertaining to the New World Order government. He explains the method of manipulation, quote, "and that high-technology equipment will be used to create an optical illusion of a UFO invasion." That speaks for itself towards the alien theory being a manufactured panic plan illusion. A lot of movies or TV shows about aliens came from a Freemasonic directors. These were made by Masons. Close Encounters of the Third Kind, E.T., Taken, Alien 1-4, Independence Day, 2001, Space Odyssey, Star Wars, Star Trek, Men in Black, From the Earth to the Moon, Apollo 13, War of the Worlds, and The X-Files. Gene Roddenberry, who made the movie Star Trek, was a 33rd-degree Scottish Rite Freemason. Spock's V-hand sign is a Masonic symbol. The Vatican funds and controls every astronomical telescope and observatory in the world. The Rockefellers funded Erich von Däniken, who had fake artifacts. Adam Weishaupt, who founded the Illuminati Society, said, "Of all the means I know to lead men, the most effective is a concealed mystery. The hankering of the mind is irresistible, and if once a man has taken it into his head that there is a mystery in a thing, it is impossible to get it out, either by argument or experience. And then, we can change notions by merely changing a word. What more contemptible than fanaticism? But call it enthusiasm, then add the little word noble, and you may lead him over the world." With the influence of Freemasons and Illuminati people in view, gives reason to illustrate that the alien theory is a satanic agenda. Chapter 3. Fallen Angels. The fallen angels are credited with furnishing the human race with knowledge to be creative. For this reason, pertaining to accreditation, the fallen angels are termed as the aliens. In the previous chapter, there are expressions that confirm that the alien theory is a fabrication. What have to be understood is the motive of world dominance through the New World Order, as the administration is using this alien theory to commence a disaster to give people that the Earth is being attacked by aliens. Consideration have to be given to what was said by Nario Hayakawa, as in quote, "This plan is called Project Panic and that high-technology equipment will be used to create an optical illusion of a UFO invasion. Ambitious people are involved in this agenda for glory, fame, and wealth. Glory as in having a prominent profile for their contribution, fame as in to win the world and lost their soul, and wealth to have a large bank account to prove their worth. In all instances of this alien theory, there is no respect to God for all that He has done. These alien theorists are acting as scientists. If they cannot find God to prove things, they are putting a handle to the things they have fabricated. As mentioned previously, you can see for yourself that the nature of the theory is fragile as in not having substance. As known, the fallen angels are those angels that were expelled from heaven with Satan for fighting against God. They are also known as the Watchers. With this title they are advertising themselves as the Watchers over the human race, just as how the alien theorists are describing the aliens to be the Watchers over the human race. Viewing the description of the alien theorists, the nature of the description of both the aliens and the fallen angels are very compatible. Therefore the fallen angels due to the alien theorists are being shaded in another category to protect their profile and intent. After their fall from heaven, Satan is interested in sorting a way out of the judgment of the lake of fire. The situation they are in, come like a soccer game, where the score is 5-0 with a minute to go. 30 seconds has passed, the score is still 5-0. 5 seconds to go, the score is the same. 1 second to go, the score is still 5-0. Especially for the last detail, that is the position they are in, just as how a man condemned to death by hanging, and the prison officers are coming for him to carry him to the gallows. That is the kind of position they are in and furious about the circumstances, hence their activity in manufacturing different devices, that serves as attachments to misconduct people in some way or another, to carry people to hell. This alien theory and its activities are designed to do just that, having people believe in another concept apart from God, His Word, and work. This alien theory is likened to the Lodge, as in, inducting people into a society that will surely carry them to hell. These demons are on a mission likewise, to use the human race in diverse ways to counteract the way of the Lord, and in this way Satan has transformed his angels into angels of light to deceive many. Up to this time a lot of people have been taken already in compromising with the nature of the agenda. I have had an encounter with an individual, who said that she thinks that she is of alien origin. The details of the discussion is similar to the description of this document. Her husband likewise is of the same opinion. He was trying to prove to me that alien existence is a reality. In this case, every man and woman to their own order. That is what Satan is getting through with, having people deny Jesus Christ with this activity. There are fallen angel mentioned towards aiding and assisting the human race with attributes. Barakajal, fallen angel who teaches astrology. By Franz, fallen angel that appears monstrous and teaches mathematical arts. Buer, fallen angel who teaches philosophy, logic, and ethics. Also Forkas, fallen angel who teaches logic and ethics. Lahash, fallen angel who interferes with divine will. Rahab, fallen angel of pride whose name means violence. Renob, fallen angel who is a monster who teaches rhetoric and art. Salas, fallen angel who appears as a raven and teaches astronomy. Vapula, fallen angel who is skilled in handicrafts, science, and philosophy. Zapar, angel who makes women love men. Isaiah 14 verses 12 to 14. How you have fallen from heaven, O star of the morning, son of the dawn. You have been cut down to the earth, you who have weakened the nations. But you said in your heart, I will ascend to heaven, I will raise my throne above the stars of God, and I will sit on the mount of assembly in the recesses of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds, I will make myself like the Most High. According to that verse, that is what Satan is trying to achieve, and do so using the human race as his instrument. The position they are in demands great attention, to the effect that if a way is not sorted out, they are going to hell. It is just that some people do not understand that they are involved in a soccer game, where the score is 5-0 with 1 second to go. The Lodge and the fallen angels have a close contact because of Satan. Satan is head of the Lodge, and the alien theory that was made evident previously illustrate that it is an evil agenda. People of Freemason origin are involved in promoting the alien theory. A lot of that is happening in the movie industry. The television series Ancient Aliens has its place in the ambience of educating people of the misconception. Viewing the Ancient Aliens television program, definitely it is a satanic theory for what is said, similar to what is stated above. These theorists are really satanic agents with a lie told to them by Satan. Hollywood derives its name from Anglo-Saxon origin. The name is related to a family residing as inhabitants at the Holloway or Holy Way. John Halifax or Holywood, born in Yorkshire, was a mathematician. The surname Hollywood was found in Middlesex at Holloway. Some of the Hollywood family moved to Ireland. Hollywood settlers in the United States in the 19th century, Rose Ann Hollywood, who arrived in America from County Tyrone, Ireland in 1893, B. Hollywood, who arrived in America in 1894, Cac Hollywood, who arrived in America from Liverpool, England in 1897. Hollywood settlers in the United States in the 20th century. Benjamin Hollywood arrived in America from County Armagh, Ireland, in 1903. Bernard Hollywood arrived in America from County Tyrone, Ireland, in 1905. Cassie Hollywood arrived in America from County Tyrone, Ireland, in 1907. Lily Hollywood, who arrived in America from Dublin, Ireland, in 1907. William Hollywood arrived in America from Belfast, Ireland, in 1907. Movie producers who are Freemasons. Jack Warner, who founded the Warner Brothers, was a Mason with the Mount Olive Lodge No. 506, Los Angeles, California. Louis B. Mayer was a film producer and was a member of the St. Cecile Lodge No. 568, New York, New York. Darryl F. Zanuck was the co-founder of 20th Century Productions, and a Mason at the Mount Olive Lodge No. 506, Los Angeles, California. Carl Laemmle was the founder of Universal Studios and a Freemason. Walt Disney founded Walt Disney Studios and was a Mason. He was a 33-degree Freemason of the Scottish Rite. Cecil B. DeMille was a Hollywood movie director, and Mason with the Prince of Orange Lodge No. 16, New York. Freemasons' movies are Time Machine, 1960, the beginning of the film. To set the story, the principal character invites friends round to show a model of his invention. At the end of the test, and most of the guests have left, the character Philby stays because of his concern for his friend and says the following line: "George, I speak to you as a friend, and even more, As a brother, Freemason's understanding of brotherhood is of genuine concern for a fellow brother, and are duty-bound to care for a fellow Mason within the restrictions of divine and government law and their own ability and responsibilities. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is actually based on a comic book series which began in 1999. Freemasonry is depicted, as the film gives at least 3 Masonic references. 2 close-up shots of a Masonic square encompasses ring worn by the villain character Phantom, who is trying to start a world war. A Masonic device is seen on the doors of the founder of the League, M, an incarnation of the criminal genius Moriarty. Hobson's Choice, 1954. In the film, Charles Laughton plays the title character of Henry Horatio Hobson, a heavy drinker and widower with 3 daughters. He uses his daughters as virtual slave labor, until eventually the eldest, the most prudent of the 3, marries and goes into business herself, in competition to her father's, and eventually takes over in a situation that explains the name of the production. There are Masonic references in the film. A visual reference is that there is a Masonic Master Mason's certificate briefly seen hanging on a wall. When one of the daughters walks into her father's office, a second certificate is seen later in the front of the shop. In most jurisdictions, this would be a Masonic offense to show your Masonic certificate in public, especially at work. The people who are involved in the production of these movies are those people who Satan has transformed into angels of light. Their contribution certifies that fact. Movies that directly advertise alien theory and give encouragement towards accepting the theory are movies such as Star Trek. This movie was the idea of Gene Roddenberry, who, as stipulated, was a Freemason. He is quoted in saying, "It's not true that I don't believe in God. I believe in a kind of God. It's just not other people's God. I reject religion. I accept the notion of God." That statement speaks for itself. This man is a Satanist. Satan, through these kinds of people, is expressing his ambition and manipulating people in so doing. He further laments, quote, "Understand that Star Trek is more than just my political philosophy, my racial philosophy, my overview on life and the human condition." In this statement he views life as with the contact and the communication with them, also what they think of the nature of inhabitants, as in aliens that occupy the universe. The Lodge on the Moon was created by Buzz Aldrin. He was instructed by the Grand Master of Texas. There was a Freemason ritual conducted on the moon. They just did not show that Freemason ritual on the media. This event took place on July 20, 1969. The area where the ceremony was conducted is known as Mare Tranquillitatis, or Sea of Tranquility. The Grand Master gave him the authority to represent the Grand Master, and authorize him to claim Masonic territorial jurisdiction for the most worshipful Grand Lodge of Texas, ancient free and accepted Masons, on the moon. Edwin Aldrin is a member of Clear Lake Lodge number 1417. In the movie Star Trek, Scotty and Spock display the Kabbalistic Masonic V hand sign, which is illustrative to the pyramid. Captain Kirk. The name Kirk is derived from the word Circe and means church in Scottish. The church is the captain of the Starship Enterprise. The Enterprise is the lodge which is connected to the Vatican. Movies as Lost in Space, Babylon 5, A Space Odyssey, E.T., Area 51, Alien Siege, Close Encounter of the Third Kind, Escape from Planet Earth, Star Wars, Independence Day, Stargate, The X-Files. Fight the X-Files, Fight the Future, Zathura, A Space Adventure, with these movies and checking the profile of the people involved in the production of the movie. Also, the actors are either Freemason or Illuminati oriented. The fallen angels with their attributes, and people associating with secret societies, give way to demons to manifest their intent through these actors, as the actors have to sell their souls to be in the movie. Augustine of Hippo, a philosopher and theologian, said that the fallen angels can make things appear, or change things in the physical world by using certain material elements to produce a real wonder. More often they manipulate what we perceive as material reality in order to deceive. Augustine in De Trinitate explains how this happens. Firstly, the demon can work from within, working on a person's imagination and corporeal senses so that something appears to be real, but the reality is only a product of manipulated senses of perception. Saint Thomas Aquinas termed extraterrestrial intelligence as angels of non-material intelligent beings. They have no corporeal bodies and are pure intelligence. Angels can assume physical bodies. They do not take over an existing physical body, but they manipulate matter so as to assume a physical appearance that is visible yet consistent with angelic character. The Catholic response, quote, "There is such a thing as extraterrestrial intelligence. These creatures really are from another world, the spiritual world. They're what we call angels, and some of these angels are ministers of light. Others are ministers of deception and destruction. Furthermore, these extraterrestrial forces are involved in a great cosmic war, and human beings are part of the conflict." The above is in alignment with what Norio Hayakawa said. This plan is called Project Panic, and that high technology equipment will be used to create an optical illusion of a UFO invasion. That is why I said earlier that the fallen angels are the aliens. It is just that the administration is not explaining that fact directly for what nature stipulates. The action and activity of the alien theory is for people to be caught in a web of destruction. This action illustrates the importance of the creation of the human being as attachment and devices of a worldly concept is specially designed for people to lose their salvation regarding the expenditures, effort, and formatting done by the administration of this activity, purports their attitude to devour as many people with this misconduct of motivation of the alien theory, as explained above. The fallen angels can manufacture an illusion. From that point of manufacturing or fabrication, the agenda to deceive people with the alien theory is very possible, due to producing realistic images and figures. This act by the fallen angels would be likened to the production of a movie. It is just that this movie is not produced in and or by Hollywood. It is produced by the elite, who are the fallen angels. They provide the elusive footage. Therefore, with reference to this instance, people seeing a flying saucer, saw the figure of a flying saucer, that have the appearance of a factual image of a flying saucer that does not exist. What people have to understand is that this is a theory to take people to hell. That is what this theory is about, and at the same time to be used in the time factor of the New World Order activity. As said by Henry Kissinger at the Bilderberg Conference, France in 1991, quote, "If they were told that there was an outside threat from beyond, an alien invasion, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence, it is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil. The one thing every man fears is the unknown." When presented with this scenario, individual rights will be willingly relinquished for the guarantee of their well-being granted to them by the world government. According to the statement, they are using the alien theory to manufacture a disaster to promote themselves as deliverers of the disaster to gain the confidence of the people. In other words, this is a very expensive and idle trick, showing the state of mind they fallen angels have for the human race. To do all this, what is termed as organized crime to carry God's most important creation to hell, as an act of reproach and mockery because of the judgment upon, and the agony of the term's end. Conditions of the judgment, which is eternal damnation by fire forever, that is what have they arrogant and desperate, not having a way out and sorting consolation in deceiving people into hell with them forever. The 1/3 angels who supported Satan in his quest to rule heaven, found out that he was lying when they got expelled. Likewise, people believing in this alien theory would suffer the same fate. In the time of the judgment, the policy would be declared. For this reason, among others, there would be weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth when people see the reward for participating in this fabricated alien theory and activity. A point of interest would pertain to being knowledgeable of the geographic location of the fallen angels. Satan is confirmed by a Catholic priest to be residing in the Vatican. Chief Exorcist Gabriel Amorth said, quote, "The devil lives in the Vatican. Naturally it's difficult to find proof, but the true consequences are visible." The fallen angels' most precise location would be Los Angeles. Los Angeles was founded in 1781 while the area was within the borders of the Viceroyalty of New Spain. The name Los Angeles comes from the Spanish language and it means the angels. The name is an abbreviation from the original name of the place, which is El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles del Rio Porciúncula in English. Town of Our Lady the Queen of Angels of the River Porciúncula. The name Porciúncula is the Spanish translation of the Latin Porciuncula. Porciúncula is a Spanish spelling of an Italian word that means a small portion, given to Saint Francis where he found his order of friars minor, the Franciscans. The river, Porciúncula, is now called the Los Angeles River. The reference to the Queen of Angels is towards Mary. Mary is termed as the Queen of Angels. They designate Mary as the Queen of Angels of the river Porciúncula. The connection is with the angels of Porciúncula. The expression and term of Porciúncula suggests dwelling in the place or inhabitant of the place. This view proved that the angels inhabited Porciúncula. This typification can be likened to a person born in a country, where the nationality status stipulate the person birth of origin. Therefore angels of Porciúncula are the originators of Porciúncula, which is now called as stated above the Los Angeles River. This view can be accepted as the geographic location is confirmed in the term angels of Porciúncula. What is factual is America is a place that have abrogated a lot of God's instruction, by enforcing laws to the Constitution that are sinful in nature to the laws of God. Another observation is the fact that nations of the world follow the trend of culture in America. It is realistic that Satan has designated America as the capital of sin, infecting people worldwide in the process of having people follow the traditions of America. Once people understand that this system is a fabrication towards misconducting people to hell, people would appreciate the fact that this alien theory is administered by the fallen angels for their agenda. The alien agenda represents one of many devices instituted by Satan to misconduct people into hell. Fallen angels are termed as watchers over the human race according to their theory. They are not the watchers over the human race. That portfolio was not given to them. They got that portfolio by educating people of their theory, and the doctrine of the theory escalated to the present blasphemy that is published to the public. The judgment of the lake of fire is hurting them to the extent that they are taking their wrath out on the human race, as they cannot take their wrath out on God. The human race is God's most treasure creation. That is why Jesus Christ came to save us, not them, and that is another hurtful experience for them, as the deliverance of the human race by Jesus Christ show how important it is for us to be living in the world and not being part of it, as in this case, not being part of the alien theory and its activity. Los Angeles with reference to this illustration is considered one of the bases of the fallen angels. Activities in Los Angeles, like in some part of the world, is of Babylonian conception, meaning a lifestyle apart from the lifestyle of God. Attachments such as casinos, hotels, establishment of Masonic lodges are numerous in Los Angeles. David Henry, a police officer, is a Grand Master of the 32 degree and 33 degree, also X degree, meaning that he obtained the highest degree as a Mason platform. He oversees 500,000 members in the United States. On this note, the first police department was established by the Knights Templar in 1100 BC. The Masonic Fraternal Police Department, MFPD, is the Knights Templars. With the establishment of lodges, activities pertaining to the satanic agenda will be accomplished. There is a display of badges of police officers, all with Masonic compass and square. Barack Obama said in a United Nations meeting, quote, "The United States had been working with aliens from outer space. Fallen angels take names to gods as Moloch, Baal, Tammuz, Isis. These are the same as Isis, Osiris, Zeus, Ares. By way of this channel, obviously as it is in activation, people are in meaningful fellowship with this concept of worship, and are not conscious of the fact that they are serving demons. A point of highlight is that people get material substance from these demons, which would keep them lustful and intact. With people being members of secret societies, the fallen angel can embody a person. This fact is evident, for example, in movies where actors act the role of Satan. It is a possibility that Satan embodied the person. I am not saying that this is a likely occurrence with any individual. It results as a possibility towards this fact. Instances would confirm the fact, as in when Satan embodied the serpent to deceive Eve. Another instance is in the movie titled The Devil's Advocate, where Al Pacino played the role of Satan in the film, mentioning as speaking on behalf of Satan in the film, saying, quote, "I was Mussolini, I was Napoleon, I was Hitler." In that movie, Satan declared his previous embodied people characters, all of which character and attitude is to get world dominion. Beyoncé speaks of the Sasha Fierce, saying, quote, "I have someone else that takes over when it's time for me to work and when I'm on stage. This alter ego that I've created that kind of protects me and who I really am." The name Sasha is of Greek and Russian origin and means guardian of mankind. That illustration is fact towards the affirmation of angels embodying people. Seeing that Satan is doing it, the other fallen angels would do the same thing. That statement is confirmed with the attitude and activities of people in living a worldly lifestyle, as in this case believing in a fabricated alien doctrine, which is a doctrine of another angel or demon in flesh. With the ambition of certain people, not all of them, embodiment of people is the possibility, to administrate the agenda and at the same time induct people in the agenda. A lot of that is happening in Hollywood. That is what Hollywood is made of. For example, Beyoncé, she said, quote, "I have out-of-body experiences on stage. If I cut my leg, if I fall, I don't even feel it. I'm so fearless, I'm not aware of my face or my body. I created my stage persona to protect myself, so that when I go home, I don't have to think about what it is I do." Sasha isn't me. Sasha Fierce was born when I did Crazy in Love. People, when they meet me, expect that all the time, but that person is strictly for the stage. Sasha is of Russian, Spanish, and English origin. Jay-Z, her husband, admitted that he speaks to the spirits. Nicki Minaj said that a boy named Roman lives in her. She has told him to leave but he resists, and she said he's in her for a reason. Justin Timberlake said, quote, "All you people out there, Satan is my master. He has always been." With those references, the fallen angels embody people. The art of cryonics is the low temperature freezing at 196 degrees Celsius or 320.8 degrees Fahrenheit, storage of a human corpse or severed head, with the hope that resurrection may be possible in the future. This option is another avenue for the fallen angels to embody people. With this act, the fallen angels can stage a spectacular scene, as in embodying a human corpse with the profile and character of the corpse, motivating as a living person. In this case, this is certainly a typified illustration towards status of a living dead. This act, like the illusion of the aliens invading Earth, are acts of deception so the One World Administration can win the confidence of people. Satan's interest is to carry everybody to the lake of fire. This is his way of mocking God. But God is not mocked. Once people can comprehend the nature of the agenda, then realization of the effort the fallen angels are making to deceive the human race would be recognized, to the extent of people realizing how important the human being is to God. The cost of preparing and storing corpses using cryonics ranged from $28,000 US to $200,000 US. There are people who have already done the cryonics operation. Some to mention are Fred and Linda Chamberlain, who were the founders of the cryonics organization Alcor Life Extension Foundation. James Bedford, professor of psychology. He is the first person whose body was cryopreserved, which remains preserved at the Alcor Life Extension Foundation. Jerry Leaf, Alcor's vice president. Ted Williams, baseball player. Walt Disney. Hal Finney, software engineer. L. Stephen Coles, researcher. John Henry Williams, CEO, baseball card company. Other related cases are a 14-year-old girl from the United Kingdom who died from cancer has been placed into cryogenic suspension. She hopes that she would come back to life in the next decades. Her parents did not agree over the teenager's wish to be cryogenically frozen. Dick Clare Jackson, actor and producer. He passed away from AIDS. Kim Swozee was frozen until a remedy was discovered for her disease. These people who have chosen this option are victims of the nature of the plot towards deceiving people. They have contributed themselves to an experiment that is unethical. Just as how Satan lied to the one-third angels, it is the same way he is lying to the human race to corrupt and destroy. In this action he is fulfilling his character, attitude, and ambition. Initially, with the ability the fallen angels have to embody people, especially pertaining to the networking of people with secret societies, give way and access for fallen angels to embody people, that fact should be accepted with reference to the description of the above. Elaboration is emphasized on this view towards the activity of assembly fellowship, as in there are preachers and pastors who are definitely demon in flesh, the reality fallen angels speaking through them and even doing so in the name of Jesus Christ. The deceit and discrepancy on this level is what is factual and evidence in the preaching of the true person of Jesus Christ, that is to say, is the true person of Jesus Christ preached by these preachers and pastors? The answer is no, they do not preach the true person of Jesus Christ. They all eulogize the character of the white profile painting and photo of the present depiction, which is totally wrong, as the book of Revelation in chapter 1 verse 14 to 15 and in chapter 2 verse 18 clarify the fact that Jesus Christ is of a dark complexion, which would attach to the lineage of King David, which lineage is evident in the royal family of Ethiopia, as King Solomon had a son with the Queen of Sheba who is Menelik. He is the first Solomonic emperor of Ethiopia. King Solomon gave the Ark of the Covenant to his son, as a gift for being his son, and being king of Ethiopia. Therefore on this account the Ark of the Covenant is in Ethiopia, in Aksum, located in the Tabernacle St. Mary of Zion. This definition and description of the Ark is also in Wikipedia on the internet. Menelik I was raised Jew by his mother in Ethiopia and visited his father in Jerusalem when he was in his 20s. King Solomon pleaded with Menelik to stay and rule over Israel. Menelik first replied that he wanted to return to Ethiopia. With that decision that Menelik first made, Solomon gifted him with Israelites, to provide assistance to him in ruling Ethiopia within according to biblical standards. So we can see here why Ethiopia is cultured with biblical standards. Solomon gave Menelik Israelites administrators to format the structuring of Ethiopia, which is evident to the dating of the calendar. Today it is 16th October 2021. In Ethiopia the date would be the 8th October as titled to this Gregorian calendar 2012. The Western calendar is 9 years ahead of the Ethiopian calendar. That is obvious, as the fallen angels did that to deceive people. Jesus Christ would be coming through the lineage of King David. The complexion of Menelik is dark, of African origin. From Menelik the lineage extends to Zerah Yaakov Amha Selassie, who is the grandson of Emperor Haile Selassie I and son of Amha Selassie of the Ethiopian Empire. He is the head of the Imperial House of Ethiopia, established February 17, 1997, as recognized by the Crown Council of Ethiopia. Therefore the complexion of Jesus Christ with these finding would eliminate the present depiction, which depiction is generated by the Vatican and the fallen angels. Hence the preaching of the wrong person of Jesus Christ by people embodied with fallen angels is very possible. It is known that there are preachers and pastors with a so-called previous Freemason or Illuminati background, where in these societies people sell their souls. The act of preaching, in my opinion, would not repurchase the soul of any individual. At the same time, these types of preachers and pastors are purposely deceiving people, being assigned by the secret society administration, which administration is of the fallen angels governed by Satan. Reason for them highlighting the wrong person of Jesus Christ: they are highlighting Satan using Jesus Christ's name, having people pray to the wrong Jesus Christ. Fallen angels generate a lot of worldly activities in diverse ways on earth to deceive people into hell. That is what all this worldly lifestyle is about. These fallen angels have no salvation, neither can they deliver themselves from the lake of fire judgment. With that kind of agony they are devouring people by way of misconducting people with worldly attachments. With reference to the above confirmation, the fallen angels are avoiding and depriving people of the truth in any way they could to enhance their agenda. Chapter 4. NASA. NASA means National Aeronautics and Space Administration. The purpose of NASA prerogative are scientifically and technologically related to air and space exploration. The NASA administrator is nominated by the President of the United States of America. NASA's headquarters is in Washington, D.C., and have more than 17,000 employees. NASA table of activities are such as conduct scientific research, space probes to study the solar system, explore the Moon and Mars, training teachers to teach students to be engineers, scientists, astronauts, also in other fields to be workers in future endeavors. Included in the program is the Mercury, Gemini, and Apollo missions, which help NASA to learn about space. The first mission landed on the Moon in 1969. The names of the astronauts are Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Buzz Aldrin is a 33rd degree Freemason member of Clear Lake Lodge number 1417. Located in Texas, Neil Armstrong was not a Freemason. His father was a Freemason. If there are any hidden fact of Neil Armstrong of being a Freemason, it is evident it is not in the open. Other astronauts who are Freemasons are Leroy Gordon, Don Isola. He was a member of Luther B. Turner Lodge, number 732 in Columbus, Ohio. John Herschel Glenn, Jr. He was also a U.S. Senator for Ohio in 1974. Another instance of a politician being a Freemason, James Benson Irwin, who belongs to Tejon Lodge in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Walter Scarra Jr. belonged to Canaveral Lodge in Cocoa Beach, Florida. These findings are evidence towards the fact that the Freemasons are involved in the plot to stage an alien invasion illusion. Again, a reminder of this fact from Norio Hayakawa, a UFO investigator and lecturer, who said, quote, "This plan is called Project Panic, and that high-technology equipment will be used to create an optical illusion of a UFO invasion." Also a statement from Henry Kissinger at the Bilderberg Conference, France 1991, quote, "If they were told that there was an outside threat from beyond, an alien invasion, whether real or promulgated, that threatened our very existence, it is then that all peoples of the world will plead to deliver them from this evil." Likewise, Ronald Reagan, who is a 33rd degree Freemason, said, quote, "Perhaps we need some outside, universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world. That is substantial enough for evidence towards the fact of an elusive alien invasion, to get people in a panic mood, so they can make a good impression of themselves as heroes for the human race, to win people's confidence, for people to be aligned with the New World Order. That is the culmination. There was a Freemason ritual that took place on the moon that they did not broadcast on the media, which was on July 20, 1969. The landing area is known as the Sea of Tranquility, which is the consecration of the first Masonic lodge on the moon. The lodge received the name Tranquility Lodge and got the number 2000. 2000 is credited to the fact that by 2000 there would be a permanent lunar base. This was done as it is logical to them to open a special lodge for the astronauts, due to the amount of astronauts that are Freemasons. Richard Hoagland was the first person to point out that July 20th is a ceremonial ritual date within NASA, as it was the Julian calendar date in ancient Egypt of the fixed star Sirius. Gordon Cooper carried a 33rd degree jewel and a Scottish Rite flag in the Gemini 5 spaceflight that was in 1965. A former NASA administrator, James Edwin Webb, is a Freemason. Also, Kenneth S. Kleinknecht was the manager of the Apollo program. The number 33 has significance to the space missions. For example, at White Sands, New Mexico, is Launch Pad 33. It is also stated that on that date and time, exactly 33 minutes after landing was accomplished at the desired destination, the landing was timed so that it was 33 minutes before the alignment. It is suggested that the performing of the ceremony is related to making offerings to Orion's belt. This ritual to Orion's belt would open communications with Osiris himself. The question is, what is Orion's belt? Orion's belt, or the Belt of Orion, also known as the Three Kings or Three Sisters, is an asterism in the constellation Orion. It consists of the three bright stars Al-Itak, Al-Nilam, and Mintaka. This all leads to Satan and his craftiness is making devices to corrupt and deceive people. Buzz Aldrin said in an interview, quote, "When man reaches new worlds, Masonry will be there. That speaks for itself. The silk Masonic scarves that were blessed on the moon. One of these scarves was brought back to Earth after the ritual on the moon and was presented to a Masonic lodge in Washington, D.C. The name of the lodge is not known. The astronauts on their departure from the moon, on their return to Earth, left the following items on the moon: the U.S. flag, a stone plaque, a solid disc and a symbolic gold olive branch. For all this kind of reason, the Bible states that there will be a new heavens and a new earth. The present heaven and earth is corrupt with the works of Babylon administration. The Apollo 11 crew when on the moon took part in a communion ceremony according to official records. Rites of communion dates back beyond the Catholic Church to ancient Egypt, which is an offering to Osiris. With this illustration, the Catholic Assembly is in compromise with the eulogizing of Osiris through the communion they give people in their service. It is just that people do not know anything about that theory, what the Catholic priest do in the communion service. The astronauts did the same thing on the moon. In an interview, Buzz Aldrin said, quote, "As far as I can tell, 0. There were some Masonic brothers of mine in Texas that wanted me to take some kind of a Masonic emblem to the moon, and some gesture of, I don't know what it would be a gesture of, but I told them that it was not within my authority to do such a thing." Obviously, in this interview, Buzz Aldrin is lying about the items they carried and left on the moon. There are what are known as moon lodges. To my understanding, these are lodges that prefer meetings on the full moon. The first moon lodge was the Pennsylvania Grand Lodge, located in Sunbury, founded in 1779, and held meetings on the full moon. If the full moon fell on Sunday, they would keep the meeting on Monday. Perseverance Lodge 21 in Harrisburg kept meetings on the full moon until 1790. They changed the proceedings to the first Wednesday of the month. 2 of Pennsylvania's moon lodges are in Bradford County, located at Monroe and Athens. NASA launched a robotic probe named Lucy. The mission cost $981 million to conduct exploration on a 12-year mission to study asteroids around Jupiter known as Trojans, to clarify how the giant planet was formed. This activity with Lucy exploring Jupiter is, in my opinion, is another avenue that Satan is using to escape the judgment of the lake of fire, which is disguised as space exploration. Satan wants to know about the universe like how he wants to know about the earth. The reason is that he is looking for a loophole. Destroying any one of God's creative acts can win him the throne. Satan said that on his way out from heaven, to the human race it would appear beneficial. In type and figure, it is another conspiracy that a lot of greedy people are involved in for worldly gain. That is a very familiar reason for people joining the 2 main secret societies, namely the Lodge and the Illuminati. In Jesus Christ's words, quote, "What does it profit a man to gain the world and lose his soul?" The theory of aliens existing is another lie Satan is relating. There was a spacecraft before Lucy named Orion. This spacecraft was brought into servicing after traveling 3,600 miles. The spacecraft was recovered for study, surpassing these 2 spacecraft, as Voyager 1 is the first spacecraft that was launched in space. The launch date was 35 years ago. It was launched in 1977 to explore planets in the solar system. It has been in space from that time and continues to send information back to Earth. The Voyager 2 space probe was launched on August 20, 1977, to explore planets beyond the Sun's heliosphere. It was launched 16 days before Voyager 1. There is a list of probes and the description of their activity. I took the option not to list them in the document. Reason for this is that it is a lot and the reasons would be contrats in some way or another. Space probes are for searching the universe. What is the benefit for the human race towards findings? One main benefit is to provide academic knowledge for reference, which have bilateral reasons. One, to educate the human race, and it is a definite way that Satan is using to learn the universe. On this note, the secret societies who eulogizes Satan as the great architect is in conflict with fact. If Satan was the great architect of the universe, he would not have to search out the universe. That is how much liar he is. Satan caught a few people in his deceitful net, as some people are filled with ambition, greed, and power. In my opinion, if they invest the money of the space missions on Earth, livity on Earth would be better. Due to the condition of the Earth, sorting another planet to inhabit is absolute. Corruption is to the maximum. This is evident to factors such as global warming, quality of eats and drinks, and atmospheric conditions. Chapter 5. Lifestyle in Space. The alien theory is befitting for the inhabiting of space. This is what they are teaching people to vacate Earth because it is corrupted. There is the activity of territorial rights, meaning different nations own areas of the universe. This is a wrong concept to the effect that the Earth is the human race habitation. God created us to sustain the conditions on Earth and to enjoy the nature of the creative acts. What is happening with this suggestion to live in space is factual to the definitive of the logic that the human race have to adapt, as in configure physical human attributes and qualities to compromise to the nature of the elements and properties of the universe, which definitely would be a challenge. Reason we are not created to live in space. It is just a way out. Satan is using the human race to escape the judgment. He is doing what he thinks is possible to deliver himself. In other words, he is afraid of God. And what he is doing now on Earth, he cannot do it when he is in the lake of fire. Once people understand that theory, people would know how to conduct themselves. The first human to venture into space was a Soviet cosmonaut named Yuri Gagarin. He orbited the Earth on April 12, 1961. The flight lasted 108 minutes. People view space migration as an option related to human survival. Physicist Stephen Hawking said, quote, that people must begin colonizing planets in other solar systems in the event of an asteroid collision or nuclear war. This is Satan illustrating a reason. To this effect, Satan have people speaking on his behalf, as in lying on his behalf. The reason given is not substantial enough. The activity of the reason can happen in space as well, especially towards a nuclear war that would resemble a battle scene likened unto the Star Wars movie or Star Trek. These types of movies are produced to motivate people into focusing to livity in space. People would be zealous to live in space because of the adventure promoted in the movies. Hence the actors are Freemasons doing Satan will. When people join these secret societies, they know what they are doing. Selling their rights to the commander-in-chief. That is a common title used by people of the occult to credit Satan with respect, just as the 1/3 did. That is the kind of business they conduct. To prove allegiance. From the time they were expelled from heaven, they knew that Satan was lying to them also himself. Richard Branson and Jeff Bezos are pioneers of the space tourism industry. The question is, what is space tourism? The best finding for this definition should be referenced to Wikipedia, which defines space tourism as follows, quote, space tourism is human space travel for recreational purposes. There are several different types of space tourism, including orbital, suborbital and lunar space tourism. Work also continues towards developing suborbital space tourism vehicles. This is being done by aerospace companies like Virgin Galactic, Blue Origin. In addition, SpaceX, an aerospace manufacturer, announced in 2018 that they are planning on sending space tourists, including Yu Sakumizawa, on a free return trajectory around the moon on the Starship. This is really an idle thought that appear to be real for the lusting people willing to venture into the program. What have to be defined is the different types of space tourism aspects. Orbital space tourism. Orbital tourism entails remaining in space for at least one full orbit. Suborbital space tourism is a flight which requires enough energy to blast off to space and then naturally fall back to Earth, making a huge arc. It requires less energy and is less costly than orbital flights. Lunar space tourism gives tourists the ability to become astronauts and experience space travel for recreational, leisure, or business purposes. How the space tourism industry is fashioned would encourage people to venture into space. To this effect, a space ticket cost can vary according to the company offering the services, which cost could be approximated basically to the consideration from $200,000 to $450,000 US. Different companies have different packages, such as Virgin Galactic with a $250,000 ticket to the edge of space, which includes a spacesuit. SpaceX program passengers pay $55 million, which include a sleeping bag and hygiene products. Blue Origin package is worth $28 million with a seat next to Jeff Bezos. Axiom ticket cost $55 million. Axiom intention is to create the world's first commercial space station. Space Adventures offers private space flights. Boeing-like. SpaceX received multi-billion-dollar contracts to build spacecraft that would transport astronauts into space. Boeing is allowed to fly private passengers into space, at a cost of $35,000 per night. The housing accommodation is in the format of inflatable housing. An inflatable house is a bounce house, which is an inflatable structure that is often seen at children's birthday parties, county fairs, and various festivals. The bounce house can range in shape from a simple enclosed bouncy area, to large houses of several styles. A bounce house is like unto a castle, which could consist of more than one story or level. The housing. The University of Manchester had scientists develop a way to make a concrete-like material made of extraterrestrial dust. This was done as the cost to transport brick to outer space would cost a lot more than manufacturing the material from extraterrestrial dust. Cost of transporting one brick to Mars has been estimated at about $2 million. In this case, the astronauts have a commitment in this venture. They have to act as quarry workers, a protein from blood plasma, human blood, integrated with elements from urine, also with sweat or tears and human serum albumin. This application would glue together Moon or Mars soil to produce a material stronger than ordinary concrete, adaptable for construction work in extraterrestrial conditions. The material is called astrocrete. Scientists analyze that 500 kilograms of astrocrete can be made in a 2-year period on the surface of Mars by a crew of 6 astronauts. That is what I was saying previously. The astronauts have to act as quarry workers. They would not be on Earth producing the astro brick. They would be on Mars or whatever planet they see fitting. The query is, what is the purport of going to live in space? In couple descriptions, the purport is not mentioned or discussed to the fullest. The elaborated explanation of just going to live in space is not enough. The reality is, if the money to do these elaborated projects in space was spent on Earth, along with technological application, would definitely make the Earth a better environment. That is self-explanatory. They made this space venture a popular subject like cell phone with features, to attract people in the space web. With reference to the details of this document to this point, should give light into the fact of Satan's involvement in the space livity, you have to consider the fact that Satan is seeking a way out of the judgment, and at the same time, if that attempt does not bear fruit, he is accumulating information to stage the destruction of the universe. Bear in mind that God created all things by His word. In this view, the possibility is that if Satan destroy any of God's creative acts, that action can win him the throne. He said that on his way out and is desperately working towards his ambition. Hence, when Adam and Eve sinned in the Garden of Eden, that sin action destroyed the human race into hell. Reason is seen here why God manifested Himself in flesh, coming in the name of Jesus Christ to save the day. Satan carrying every single human being to hell could have won him the throne. Why? Because God created the human race to live forever on earth and not in hell. Notice Satan is carrying some into space, as usual, fighting against God and doing the opposite for the sake of wickedness. Dr. Aled Roberts, a scientist from the University of Manchester, mentioned saying, quote, "It is exciting that a major challenge of the space age may have found its solution based on inspirations from medieval technology. The concept is literally blood-curdling. What he is stressing on is the application of animal blood used as a binder for mortar. Now in so-called modern times it is human blood. This part of the processing of the astro brick is compounded with a sacrificial application. It appears as though they are preferable towards using human blood. They could have suggested a material like limestone. The definition of this application is limestone that is 98% plus calcium makes the best lime for lime mortars. Natural lime hardens with a very different chemical process than hydraulic binders. Although it is not as quick to use as hydraulic binders, its working properties are excellent for all kinds of mortar, plaster, and stucco. What the suggestion could be is a material other than human blood and urine, these biological elements that they are exploiting. Knowing the kind of demon Satan is reflects to the option of system sacrificial processing. All these kind of processing, in my opinion, are acting as mockery unto God from Satan. But God is not mocked. Jesus Christ already said that, quote, "It is not His will that any should perish." Fact towards that statement is the confirmation of the giving of rewards by Jesus Christ, as in some shall receive 30 folds, 60 folds, and 100 folds. The reason for people receiving 30 folds is because they are 30% righteous. Everybody would get rewarded according to their works. Therefore, salvation for the human race starts at individuals being 30% righteous, which is equivalent to belief in Jesus Christ according to the description in Revelation chapter 1 verse 14 to 15 and Revelation 2 verse 18. These verses establish the fact that Jesus Christ is of a dark complexion, as both verses mention that His feet were like fine brass, as if refined in a furnace, and His voice as the sound of many waters. According to the alloy content, when brass is refined in a furnace, it usually comes out dark. See what Satan did. Manufactured an illustration in the opposite termed as a white illustration, which is opposite to what is written in the book of Revelation. Xiaomi is a Chinese electronics company manufacturing a housing prototype that would allow humans to survive on Mars, based on the principle of open architecture. Open architecture is a type of computer architecture or software architecture intended to make adding, upgrading, and swapping components with other computers easy. With the construction of housing in space, there must be some sort of real estate transaction. Attached to this description are the Outer Space and the Moon Treaty. The document from the treaty proposes real property rights in outer space. This would not require nations to establish territorial sovereignty, and is consistent with the provisions and principles of the Outer Space Treaty. In the 1967 Outer Space Treaty do not permit states from establishing territorial sovereignty, but that states exercise jurisdiction over space objects and personnel. In the 1979 Moon Treaty, which gives provision for development, but prohibits real property rights. The majority of nations have not signed the Moon Treaty. Sovereignty is a nation's right to exert exclusive authority over people, resources, and institutions. It is established to the extent within the boundaries of a nation's territory. Countries claim sovereignty outside national boundaries, but that authority is limited to certain specific functions, such as jurisdiction over ships, aircraft, and citizens. Legality of territorial claims. This statement was made, quote, "Let's claim the moon now." Columbus stuck the Spanish flag into the sands of a West Indies beach, and we or the Russians would be perfectly within the concept of international law to claim possession of the moon by shooting our national flag there by rocket. The reason for evacuating Earth is because of the destructive system that is in place, for example global warming. They want to destroy the Earth before the judgment time to eliminate the lake of fire judgment, placing this outer space program as a happy hour venture, as mentioned before, using the human race to conduct his will. Again, the situation with Adam and Eve. In my opinion, Satan challenged God to enter into death, because he knows that God have a special love for the human race. Satan, in my opinion, wanted to trap God in death to win the throne. Satan is using reverse psychology with the space liberty, with reference to the incident of the corrupting of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. He is desperately in want of a solution to escape the judgment. When he asked Enoch to write a petition to God asking for forgiveness, that should express the kind of desperation he and the one-third are experiencing. The Bogotá Declaration gives nations territorial claims in outer space. Countries claim that the orbit is a physical fact connected to the nature of our planet, that its existence depends on gravity, therefore it should not be considered a part of outer space. In 1976, 8 equatorial states claimed sovereignty over the geosynchronous orbit, which is located 22,300 miles above the equator. These claims are satanic. God is the creator and owner of all things. Jurisdiction applies to the space facility, to a reasonable area around the facility, and to all personnel in or near the facility, irrespective of nationality. The application is related to and termed as quasi-territorial jurisdiction. This jurisdiction permits the state of registry to subject its space objects and personnel to any national laws which are not in conflict with international law. According to Article 8, jurisdiction and control is only valid and necessary to accomplish the exploration and exploitation of outer space and celestial bodies. There are limitations towards control and jurisdiction. Limitations would pertain to, as for instance, a space object is abandoned or returned to Earth in the event of it ceases to exist when activity is terminated. The Moon Treaty states that the surface nor the subsurface of the Moon shall become property of any state, international, intergovernmental or non-governmental organization, national organization, or non-governmental entity. Also, the Moon and its natural resources are the common heritage of mankind. However, 5 countries have signed the treaty. Other nations along with the United States of America did not sign the treaty. Real property rights prohibits territorial sovereignty but does not prohibit private appropriation. Existing international space law allows the institution of limited, functional property rights in outer space. Article 2 of the 1967 Outer Space Treaty prohibits national and not private appropriation of spatial resources, and in particular prohibits national claims of territorial sovereignty. This clause suggests a regime of functional property rights which would be legal under both the common law and civil law theories of property, and under Articles 2 and 8 of the Outer Space Treaty. In my opinion, this space venture is a waste of time. With reference to the above descriptions pertaining to the rights of the treaty and the provisions thereof, they are incorporating the same destructive system in outer space, as towards the mismanagement of the chaotic present situation they have made on Earth. The question is when the universe is corrupted by them. What is the next proposal? What is the way out? What is the direction of another universe to exploit? The reason why they are going in space is because they have corrupted the Earth to a great extent, exactly what Satan wants for his escape route, to destroy the Earth to win the throne, at the same time to be the hero for his community in providing a way out. The scriptures mention that the heavens shall be shaken in the judgment. It is only logical that with that statement, what went up must come down. These people are wasting a lot of time. This venture is a happy hour session, compatible to the prosperity ministry that have members in the fellowship happy for the fellowship session. Chapter 5. Life in Space. This is interesting to the extent of having eats and drinks conveniently. Space livity requires that ways be devised for storing foods. First, to begin with, food regardless of nature must be lightweight, compact, and nutritious. Storage is limited to food being kept for long periods without refrigeration. A lot of foods have 2,500 or more calories per day. Basically, people would be eating food of a synthetic nature. In this case, food would be manufactured, not grown. It is possible that people can be eating human corpse parts in the instance. Knowing what Satan is, the option could weigh to the processing of meat in that sense. They are not going to have an animal farm in space. Where is the meat coming from? That is why this option of processing human corpses is a possibility. What about the water supply? I have never heard that they found water on the Moon or Mars. However, water was detected on the Moon, along with buried ice on Mars. As explained in a particular description, quote, "Finding water on the Moon has long been one of the holy grails of modern lunar exploration because solar power and ice deposits, assuming they are close enough to the surface, could provide a source of water, air, and rocket fuel for future Moon explorers or colonists." The description is saying that it is a 50-50 option of water being on the Moon. This living in space have a nice appearance, searching into the elements of sustenance, as in rearing livestock, having a constant water supply, and medical services have to be patterned to the Earth format. Water and sewage is a critical area of development. The disposal method would scientific, and in this case, it is possible that recycling would be an alternative. Therefore, the product of urine and stool could be processed to any effect to put forth a product or service. There are reports that water was found to be flowing on Mars, but does the flow confirm a source as a lake of something of the sort? This ambition of they trying to find a way to inhabit space, is likened to a person trying to fit in a size 8 shoe to a size 11 foot. What they are trying to prove is already proven. Humans were not created to live in space. To me, this is a complex situation and environment to be a partaker. A professor at Cornell, Gene Hunter, states, quote, "Small-scale agriculture is notoriously inefficient. I worry about the colonists underestimating the amount of human capital needed to grow and process their own food, to the point where everybody becomes a subsistence farmer and they're toiling all day just to get enough to eat, kind of like our ancestors in America. for the first 4 to 6 months, their crops wouldn't be ready. You can have something that's very tasty, but then you get tired of it really quickly. In these situations, that's actually not as useful as a food that's just okay but that you will enjoy at its initial level for a long time. Therefore, people going to space to live would have to carry a large supply of shelf-stable or pre-packaged foods to give a head start until produce is grown. Scientists would have to format a way to make foods that can last for 4 or 5 years inside sealed pouches, which would advance to the method of high-pressure processing, which could extend shelf life considerably. There is not a proper definition, description, or confirmation of a substantial way to plant food on Mars and the Moon. There are descriptions that mention about the astronauts carrying food with them in space. A couple attachments for livity are not set in place. To this time, advertisements encourage people to buy a ticket to go to space. It is a leisure vacation package they advertise for a lot of money. Another avenue for the elite capitalist to do business, in so doing using and manipulating people in the process. As mentioned previously, some of the people involved in this space venture are Freemasons, which should alert people to the fact that this space program is corrupt because of the Freemasons' involvement. The issue of clothing is another option to query. People would have to wear spacesuits which depend on a mixture of pressurized gases. There is the manufacturing of biosuit, which is a spacesuit that would allow freedom in movement. These suits can cost around $12 million. One advantage is that the actual bodysuit can be constructed for a couple $1,000. The helmet and the backpack would be interchangeable. The problem with these suits is their rigidity. Air that supplies pressure to the bodies of wearers turns them into stiff balloons that make movement difficult and tiring. Mechanical counter-pressure suit has been around quite some time. It is a suit providing skin-tight compression on the body through tensioned materials rather than pneumatic pressure. It is not inflated like a conventional spacesuit and uses mechanical pressure, with evaporation from body perspiration which is emitted from the suit in all directions. Water, salts, and proteins can deposit on optics and other sensitive surfaces, causing damage or degradation. The movies can be deceptive towards how people attire themselves in space. For example, the movie Lost in Space. In this movie they illustrate people wearing clothing and are on the outside. Of course this is a film in a studio or location, but the concept of giving people the idea that wearing clothes on the outside in space, they fabricate the movie to suit the occasion as in to influence and program people to be desirous to live in space. The situation with oxygen in space. There is oxygen in space. Humans are unable to use the oxygen in space in order to breathe. The higher you go, the thinner the air. In space the oxygen is limited for human use. As to compare, on Earth there are plants that produce oxygen. Reason is that on Earth there are cyanobacteria and algae to produce oxygen. In space there is not the like. For people to live in space, they have to have a great supply of oxygen stored to supply people, in this case oxygen, have to be produced on Earth and transported to space. For the sake of the oxygen, they cannot eliminate Earth totally. Furiously they are sorting a way to accommodate livity in space. They must have a special reason for their determination. The better option would be to spend the money on Earth to do repairs. In fact, they are destroying the more. The Earth, with reference to resources like oil and gas, replenishes itself. Draining the Earth so for it to self-destruct is an hindrance to the agenda towards escaping the judgment of the lake of fire. That is why I am saying, they are using the human race to escape the judgment of the lake of fire, in an attempt to win their case on technicality. The technical point is that they are not on Earth when the judgment time is up. With such an option in effect, Satan can win the throne. and they all can escape the lake of fire judgment. As it is at this present time, they have to seek a way to destroy the universe, as locating an appropriate planet for habitation is out of the question and they know it. Too much elements have to be put in place to accommodate human beings living in space, and the time remaining is not enough time to set the elements in place for habitation. That is why I said previously that the position Satan and his demons are in is likened to a soccer match where the score is 5-0 with 1 minute to go. In a soccer game with that profile, there are spectators and supporters who at the 1 minute timing, would leave the stadium as they know that the game is not winnable. Is it just that Satan is not telling the human race the truth? He is determined towards seeking a way out, which represents his final resort. Notice how the focus shifts from Earth to outer space. The Earth destructive option is not bearing fruit for Satan and the 1/3. Here are some reasons why people cannot live in space. 1. Any child conceived in space is likely to be born sterile. 2. Limited oxygen supply compared to Earth. 3. The high levels of radiation in space would kill any female fetus' lifetime supply of eggs. 4. Children could also suffer mental and physical defects from exposure to harmful radiation. 5. It is not a sure thing for people to have intercourse in space. NASA and the Russians refuse to reveal if their astronauts had ever had intercourse in space. 6. These are no protons, but high-energy proton particles from galactic cosmic rays. We on Earth are kept safe from them by our atmosphere and magnetic field. 7. A substantial water resource is not confirmed, but is evident. 8. Sewage systems have to be put in place. 9. Microbes can change characteristics in space. 10. Microorganisms that naturally live on the human body are transferred more easily from person to person in closed habitats. There are a lot of disadvantages on their part. The above reasons give that confirmation, the like as the Star Wars movie illustrate their hope in living in space. At the same time, these types of movies have hidden messages for Freemasons and Illuminati society members to observe. For example, in the movie The Devil's Advocate with Al Pacino was acting the role of Satan. He said in that movie he was the incarnation of Mussolini, Hitler, and Napoleon Bonaparte, all tyrants labeled as Antichrist characters. When members of the Freemason and Illuminati societies watch such a film, they know that Satan manifested himself in these different personalities. In the said movie he had a son. It is evident that due to that scene in the film, the Antichrist is born. He also said in that movie that he is responsible for the organizing of the human race culture. That is the same credit they give to Satan and the 1/3. That is why I said previously they are referencing the fallen angels as aliens. Even with the description as the Watchers, meaning they are watching over the welfare of the human race, which is a lie. Humans have been living in space since 1970. Several nations have come together to work to build a single space station. The orbiting laboratory and technologically complex cost $150 billion, as long as a football field, 254 miles above Earth at 17,000 miles an hour. Humans have been living on the International Space Station for 15 years. Daniel Golden, a former NASA's administrator, said, quote, "There are so many people who felt maybe we couldn't do it, but it's happening, it's here. We're going to be in space forever with people who are circling this globe, and then we're going on to Mars, back to the moon and with bases on asteroids." That statement resembles the cartoon The Jetsons. What has to be considered is what Norio Hayakawa, a UFO investigator and lecturer, said, quote, This plan is called Project Panic, and that high-technology equipment will be used to create an optical illusion of a UFO invasion. This will give governments and the United Nations the excuse to call a global state of emergency, and all those emergency powers and executive orders will be implemented. That is what all this outer space activity is about. Why take so much time and money to structure a colony in space where there are obvious disadvantages? Spend the money on Earth and do repairs to the Earth. As the human race have already adapted elements and attachments in place that need repairs, it is evident that there is a hidden agenda. Just as how Satan misconducted Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, that was done by Satan as well to challenge God to enter into death, because God had to sacrifice himself to deliver the human race. According to Satan, if God did not come out of death, in that way he would have won the throne. Like this method of space exploration, he is using this method to destroy the universe to win the throne, destroying people into hell and destroying the earth, also destroying the universe, are options. Satan is using to destroy the Word of God, because the Word of God created all things. Destroying what the Word of God created is what the game is about to Satan, to win the throne. Satan said that on his way out of heaven, and as it is he is performing his ambition with pride and deceit, at this point certainly for those who have sold their souls to him, as there is a lot of ways Satan have designed to misconduct people into hell, from basic social living to according to this document. Likewise with the alien theory. Edgar Mitchell, an astronaut, said, quote, "Extraterrestrials want to help us get free energy. This is another reason given for space exploration." A NASA astronaut said, quote, "The Pope has knowledge of aliens out there who want to help humanity, but a war in space is heating up." Edgar Mitchell wrote to John Podesta, who is a politician, saying, quote, "The Vatican knows extraterrestrials exist and want to share zero-point energy with us. The friendly aliens want to help mankind lead better lives but are afraid of our violent tendencies. Because the war in space race is heating up, I felt you should be aware of several factors as you and I schedule our Skype talk. The Vatican has knowledge of aliens. Another reason why the Vatican is the mother of harlots. People visiting space for the first time have to adjust or acclimatize to the outer space atmospheric conditions. This process of acclimatization can take a few weeks. Living in space reacts to the body as fluids tend to pool in the upper parts of your body. This can result in a puffy red color tone on the face of humans. Muscles do not work as hard and your bones weaken. Heart muscle gets weaker, as it requires less effort to pump blood around the body in microgravity. It's also possible for people to gain height to a few centimeters. In space, people are confronted with cosmic rays. These invisible waves make contact with the human body and increase the risk of diseases. An astrophysicist, Michel Mayer, commented saying, quote, "If we are talking about exoplanets, things should be clear. We will not migrate there. Kill all the statements that say, we will go to a livable planet if one day life is not possible on Earth. Even in the very optimistic case of a livable planet that is not too far, say a few dozen light years, which is not a lot, it's in the neighborhood, the time to go there is considerable. Living in space from that comment is not possible. Regardless, they are encouraging people to live in space. That encouragement is an alibi. They are distracting people with the alien theory and concept, to properly manufacture and act the elusive alien invasion, that was mentioned by Norio Hayakawa. Norio Hayakawa also said, quote, "This will give governments and the United Nations the excuse to call a global state of emergency, and all those emergency powers and executive orders will be implemented." This is the real issue they are protecting while distracting people. People who give credit to the Livity policy as in living in space do not speak like Norio Hayakawa. With reference to the above comments, it is easy to analyze that the alien theory is a hoax similar to the December 25th and the January 1st. It is a fabrication they are using to aid and assist in the establishing of the New World Order. Chapter 6. The Deception. The deception was emphasized a lot in the previous chapter. Towards the elusive alien attack, the deception is in furtherance to the effect and extent of the people and organizations involved in the agenda of the deception. The three main organizations involved in the deception are the Vatican, the Freemasons, and the Illuminati. Others involved to this effect would be termed as slaves, that is to say, the upholders such as the administrators of the Ancient Aliens documentary program. I term that particular program as open blasphemy. There are 36 alien societies and the list below are the active organizations. Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, Center for UFO Studies, International UFO Congress, Mutual UFO Network, National UFO Reporting Center, To the Stars, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force. These organization prerogative is to the agenda in some way or another. The Vatican is the main administrator of the entire project. Some people would not analyze this fact as the disguise is well patterned. Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, along with the Disclosure Project which seeks the disclosure of alleged classified UFO information, was founded by Stephen Macon Greer, a ufologist. The Disclosure Project was formed to grant amnesty to government whistleblowers willing to violate their security oaths by sharing insider knowledge about UFOs. Center for UFO Studies is a privately funded UFO organization founded in 1973 by J. Allen Hynek. The Center for UFO Studies has two principal activities. First, it maintains a library and archives of UFO-related materials, which are open for use by researchers and investigators who are writing about UFO-related topics. International UFO Congress was established in 1991. This organization is committed to the dissemination of information related to many aspects of ufology. The organization provides presentations given by authors, researchers, experts, enthusiasts, and those who claim to have witnessed paranormal or anomalous phenomena from all over the world. Mutual UFO Network is an organization of civilian volunteers who study reported UFO sightings, having over 4,000 members worldwide, which hosts an international symposium annually. National UFO Reporting Center is an organization that investigates UFO sightings and/or alien contacts. This organization was founded by Robert J. Gribble. It has 90,000 reported UFO sightings, most of which were in the United States. The Stars. This organization was founded by Tom DeLonge, Harold E. Puthoff and Jim Semivan. The company comprises aerospace, science, and entertainment divisions. The entertainment division publishes albums, books, TV shows and films. The science and aerospace divisions purports the activity of investigating unidentified flying objects. Their aim is their project to manufacture an electromagnetic vehicle, as stated by Harold E. Puthoff. A lot of the technologies or phenomena under research are based on applications that foster the subject of pseudoscience. Pseudoscience is a subject that consists of statements, beliefs, or practices that claim to be both scientific and factual but are incompatible with the scientific method. The stars is responsible for reinvigorating the public imagination of UFOs. Luis Elizondo satiated, quote, "None of us at TTSA consider ourselves ufologists or part of the ufology culture. In fact, most of us come from a U.S. government background, both defense and intelligence. The Vault is a team that collects, analyzes, and provides their authentication of UFO sightings, most famously reported in the media as having been obtained through declassified government materials. The company's Atom Research Project is promoting what they believe to be an extraterrestrial metal for commercial and military applications. Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon Task Force is a program within the United States Office of Naval Intelligence used to standardize collection and reporting on sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena, sometimes termed as UFOs. The elite in this scenario has their slaves on the agenda. Bear in mind all this is done to stage an illusion of an alien attack on Earth, to promote and activate as an attachment towards the establishment of the New World Order. As mentioned previously, the Vatican have a hand in this activity, that was mentioned by one of the astronauts in the above description. The idea with these people is to attain world power, of which Satan would be the ruler. The Vatican is connected to a lot of attachment in the system, from politics, religion, economic, commerce, and the listing of attachment as in ongoing in every capacity. Connected to the Vatican is the Freemason and Illuminati societies, two renowned pillars. The one main pillar is the Rothschild family, who owns the world through the financial system. The Rothschild family are the owners of the central banks worldwide except 3 countries, which are Cuba, Iran, and North Korea. From that description it is evident why the elite are against the said countries, namely Cuba, Iran, and North Korea, that have not signed in with the Rothschild. The Rothschild boldly and publicly admit they are Satanist and are responsible for a lot of crises in the world. The Rothschild are the owner of the International Monetary Fund known as the IMF. Through the financial system they practically own the world as the wealthiest family on the earth. Through and with the central bank business they are in the position to manipulate politicians, as the politicians depend on the central bank for their business stability. Hence the politicians do business with the business community, and the politicians with the business community administrate a country. The filtering to and fro is through the central bank of a country, with the Rothschild as the owner of the central bank of a country. The Rothschild through the banking system indirectly based on a surface view own the country, due to the network of the politicians and business community depending on the central bank for services. Based on an in-depth view the Rothschild directly own the country. Is just that some people who make themselves available to vote in political campaigns do not know that they are supporting the Rothschild banking business, with the politicians and people of the business community as house slaves. The public in this instance are the plantation slaves. The Rothschild family, like the Freemason and Illuminati societies, along with some politicians and business people, are members of the Lodge fraternity, which was illustrated earlier in this document. The picture is built to show how the world is being administered by the elite working on behalf of Satan. The elite are well paid and are in this instance the original or the elite house slaves. The Vatican contribution towards alien activity is evident, as in the following interview with Gabriel Funes towards the topic of alienism. The interview is titled, "The Extraterrestrial is My Brother." Quote, "Just as there is a multiplicity of creatures on Earth, there can be other beings, even intelligent, created by God. This is not in contrast with our faith because we can't put limits on God's creative freedom. Why can't we speak of a brother extraterrestrial? It would still be part of creation, intelligent extraterrestrial life may not have experienced a fall, and may be free from original sin, remaining in full friendship with their Creator. This makes it possible to regard them as our brothers. Gabriel Funes is also a Jesuit. That is definitely a satanic statement. He is actually referring to the fallen angels. The fallen angels and the aliens are termed as Watcher, in both the alien and Freemason societies. In the statement, that is what the Brotherhood is about, serving Satan. That is what they do in the lodge. Satan started the lodge business in heaven. That is when the 1/3 sold their rights to him, swearing to oath that he is the Almighty. The statement expresses extraterrestrial have not experienced a fall and are free from original sin. That is outrageous. What he is also saying is that the fallen angels are not sinners, and at the same time the statement is saying they are freeing themselves from the judgment, using this option of outer space exploration and habitation. That is what I was saying previously. They are also using this option of outer space livity to escape the judgment on technical terms, and if that option does not work according to their agenda, the other option is to destroy the universe, thereby destroying the Word of God, as God made all things by His Word. As mentioned previously, Satan can win the throne by destroying the earth or the universe, because those creative acts were created by God according to His Word. Pope Francis says he would baptize aliens if they came to the Vatican, in a statement saying, quote, "Who are we to close doors?" Jesuit priest Guy Consalmagno won a medal from the American Astronomical Society. Guy is also an astronomer and a supporter of the theory that intelligent extraterrestrial life exists in the universe. With this statement in the book of Deuteronomy 18 verse 10 speaks against astrology. With reference to this verse, astrology is left out in the description of some editions. To this effect, there are Catholic priests practicing astrology. This could be the reason for the omitting of the word astrology in the description in Deuteronomy 18 verse 10. The Vatican horoscope is pivoted on the restoration of papal independence, which was inducted on June 7, 1929. The creation of the Vatican City took place at 11 a.m. on 7 June 1929, when Mussolini, the Italian Prime Minister, and Cardinal Gaspari exchanged the instruments of ratification in Rome. What are the instruments of ratification? Quote, "The instrument of ratification is a document, which must be signed by an appropriate official of the respective national government, including the title of the person who has signed it and its date and place of issue." In the movie The Devil's Advocate, Al Pacino, who acted the role of Satan, said in the film that Mussolini is a manifestation of Satan in type and figure, with reference to the negotiation between Mussolini and Cardinal Gaspari. It is evident from the statement made in the film by Al Pacino that Mussolini is a manifestation of Satan. Satan in the person of Mussolini is responsible for the creation of the Vatican, which ceremony was conducted on June 7, 1929. Embodiment to this effect would be likened to when Satan embodied the serpent to deceive Adam and Eve. Likewise, he embodied Mussolini to active the center known as the mother of harlots and abominations. The Vatican orchestrated the horoscope with the following. Aries. The meaning of Aries is ram. The name Aries is derived from Ares, the Greek god of war. Aries element, mode, and season spring. On this note, the scriptures state that the first month of the year is Nisan or Aviv, which is designated as in springtime. Therefore April, according to this Gregorian calendar, is the first month of the year, in contrast with the scriptures. Taurus is governed by the planet Venus, and being the earth element means consolidation. It is believed that it could have reached its present symbol from the Cretan bull, a mythological beast. Gemini is an air sign, represented by two Greek gods who are twins, Castor and Pollux. These signs are ruled by the planet Mercury. Cancer, emotional, intuitive, and practically psychic, ruled by the moon and characterized by the crab. This sign is symbolized by the crab, which is depicted as a 69, or a crab seen sideways. The 69 represents the crab's claws or a woman's breasts. This sign represents family, home life, and origins. Leo is a sign of Hercules and the lion. People born under this zodiac sign possess great personal magnetism and are often entrepreneurs, entertainers, and artists. The Sun enters the zodiacal house of Leo on the 23rd of July and remains there until the 23rd of August. The constellation of Leo contains many bright stars, one of which is called Regulus, which means the little king and lends some of the magical and regal connotations to the lion's sign. In Latin, Leo means lion, becoming the official name for this sign in Western astrology through translations of ancient astrological texts. Virgo is ruled by the planet Mercury, the figure of the Virgin, which is the modern symbol of this sign, sometimes holds a wheat in her right hand. Virgo, in fact, means self-sufficient in Latin, and from that expression the word virgin was derived. Libra is an air sign, falling under the rule of the planet Venus. As the scales would suggest, a person born under the sign of Libra seeks balance. Libra represents the air element. It is a sign that is more extroverted and active. The masculine and feminine signs of Libra are associated with the masculine signs as Aries, Gemini, Leo, Libra, Sagittarius, and Aquarius, whereas the feminine signs are Taurus, Cancer, Virgo, Scorpio, Capricorn, and Pisces. Scorpio people born under the sign of Scorpio are passionate and self-confident individuals. They are strong-minded and decisive and will study until they find the truth. Scorpio is a great leader, constantly conscious of the state of affairs, and with a prominent ability. Sagittarius people born Sagittarians are capable of transforming their ideas into concrete actions and will do anything to achieve their goals. They are not usually afraid of new projects, as they are hopeful that they will turn out well. Ancient astronomers felt it formed the shape of a centaur shooting an arrow, which is why Sagittarius is known as the archer. As with other sun signs, Sagittarius is a complex sign with multiple astrological influences that determine personality, traits, and characteristics. Capricorn. The zodiac sign of Capricorn commences on December 21st, but for 7 days, being overlapped by the influence of the previous sign, so it cannot take its full power until about December 28th. The Capricorn sign is one that idealizes community values and the idea of ambitions. Aquarius signifies the king or high priest outpouring the water of life over their followers and thereby blessing them. Also it reflects to the symbol of the gods bringing nourishment to earth. Aquarius is represented by the water bearer. The elemental sign is air, the same as that for Gemini and Libra. Pisces. The zodiac sign of Pisces consists of two fish swimming around each other. This symbolizes the duality of Piscean nature. The Vatican is responsible for this activity, hence with the signs of the zodiac they are related to idol worship, which is evident. Also the calendar has idol-related significance. Take into consideration that Mussolini has a hand in the structuring of the Vatican, that in itself should be explicit in its own category. Within the structure of the Vatican is the Catechism of the Catholic Church, known as the CCC, is a catechism promulgated for the Catholic Church by Pope John Paul in 1992. they are opposing the principles of the astrology activities administered, which is as follows, quote, all forms of divination are to be rejected, recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future. Consulting horoscopes, astrology, palm reading, interpretation of omens and lots, the phenomena of clairvoyance, and recourse to mediums all conceal a desire for power over time, history, and, in the last analysis, other human beings, as well as a wish to conciliate hidden powers. They contradict the honor, respect, and loving fear that we owe to God alone. The Catechism of the Catholic Church affirms that astrology is a refusal to acknowledge God and His sovereignty, which is quite true. Astrology is connected to alienism, where people are encouraged to surrender their rights to an idol in both capacities. The Vatican Observatory is located in Castel Gandolfo, Italy, and operates a telescope at the Mount Graham International Observatory. In the first place, a theocratic organization or society have no right to structure such a mechanism. That activity is against the scripture principles. What could be an option towards revise physiology is the fact of having people believe in the sign of the zodiac would make it easy for them to believe in any other theory reflected to idolism. There is a telescope that is conjectured to the title Lucifer. This is analyzed to this finding, which could be a possibility. The name of the instrument is called a Large Binocular Telescope Near-Infrared Spectroscopic Utility with Camera and Integral Field Unit for Extragalactic Research. That is what it is called. Decoding the title description would be as follows. Take each capital letter from the description as in L equals large, U equals utility, camera equals C, integral equals I, field unit equals F, extragalactic equals E, research equals R. With that analysis, compound each capital letter together and it would spell Lucifer. This theory was labeled a rumor, but it could be a possibility knowing the Vatican character. However, due to conflict with the theory, gave way to renaming the instrument Lucy in 2012. The renaming is a confirmation intermingling with the analysis. A statement made by Chris Putnam and Tom Horn, authors of Exo Vaticana, says, quote, that Pope Francis is preparing the Catholic Church to embrace the idea of intelligent extraterrestrial life and the idea that they, eventually, will have to be baptized. With this statement as well, the Vatican have a hand in the alien theory. Also, Chris Putnam and Tom Horn predict that the new Pope, Francis, will soon announce the existence of extraterrestrial life, among whom an alien savior will emerge to reinvigorate Christian teachings. That statement was also made mention of in the book titled Exo Vaticana. What is an alien savior? An alien savior is Satan. The only savior for humanity is Jesus Christ of the description in the book of Revelation chapter 1 verse 14 and 15 and Revelation chapter 2 verse 18. This description is elaborated on towards the present deceptive illustration of Cesar Borgia, who the Vatican is highlighting as Jesus Christ. Cesar Borgia profile is no way in contrast and compatible to the description in the book of Revelation. It was mentioned previously that this false image of Cesar Borgia is an obstacle in the way of people, to deprive people of their salvation, by way of having people praying to the wrong Jesus Christ. The thing with the order of grace is that anybody believing in Jesus Christ would obtain a good and right status of 30% or 30 folds. With this method the Vatican is using, as in having people pray to Caesar Borgia, would eliminate people from attaining a 30% good and right title. At the same time, Satan with this method of idolatry is getting the praise, especially at the 25th December. The denominational assemblies are involved in this blasphemy, as they advertise Cesar Borgia in their assembly fellowship without researching and correcting the blasphemy. With this description, the Vatican is the mother, and the denominational assemblies are the harlots. That is how the Vatican is the mother of harlots. Hence there are pastors that visit the Pope to enhance their profile and assembly status. If they do not visit the Pope when summoned or requested, they can lose their rights. Some people might not be aware that pastors have to get a license to preach the Word of God in the Babylon system from the state. There are elite people investing in the outer space program, such as President Trump announced a $19.5 billion bill to fund NASA programs for the 2018 fiscal year. A company named Musk has invested $1.6 billion to enable colonization of Mars. Paul Allen, co-founder of Microsoft, launched satellites into orbit from the world's largest airplane. His net worth is $15.8 billion. Larry Page, CEO of Google. His venture invests to mine asteroids for precious metals and water for Earth or space travel. His net worth is $35 billion. Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook, funded by Russian billionaire Yuri Milner. The $100 million research program aims to explore space for extraterrestrial life and to eventually perform a flyby mission to Alpha Centauri within a generation. Net worth $58.9 billion. Luxembourg invested $200 million funding for asteroid mining. Luxembourg is working towards being an international hub for the space industry. That is the kind of information you do not get on the media at times. A couple of them are Freemasons and Illuminati members working in commitment with the prerogative. The spending of the money is formality. They are all working for Satan. Because to join these societies, people know what they are doing in signing their right to Satan via a contract signed in blood or otherwise. With the intensity and urgency, the proof is there as in the fear they are living in. They know that a way have to be sorted. Their dismissal is already arranged, which have the policy of them living in torment forever. Forever is the longest time period anyone can imagine. We have no idea how these demons react to their judgment. We can only imagine and typify their calamity. Chapter 7. Agenda. The agenda was illustrated in a couple of different ways towards the interest of Satan seeking a way out. Understanding the document to this extent would provide view and fact of their agenda, pertaining to their intention and ambition. The financial system have a lot to do with the provision of the agenda. Through this financial system, nations would be engulfed in a compromise in agreeing on the outer space policy. To this point of their endeavor, they are catering for a particular class of people. As observed, the cost for a ticket to travel into space. The cost of the ticket have provisions for the elite, with the destruction of the Earth in effect. According to their intention, the cost of the ticket have eliminated the second and third class citizen. Also, the cost for the ticket allow members of secret societies to assist their fellow member in providing help in purchasing a ticket. The culminating of this activity would reflect on the second and third class citizen. With the Earth in a destructive state, people who cannot afford a ticket to travel into space would be encouraged or generate interest into selling their souls to Satan for this reason. This is therefore procrastinated to the option of Satan compounding an avenue to compel people to sell their rights to him. With this option, they would use the destruction of the Earth to manipulate people forcibly, as in the second and third class citizen would have no choice but to seek assistance to go and live in space because of the condition of the Earth. The outer space livity, in my opinion, have diverse applications towards enslaving people to be cloned to the agenda. People have to try and understand that the human being is God's greatest creation. When people acknowledge this theory of the human being importance, as the scriptures say, quote, "Yet are the salt of the earth." Then people would know to turn to Jesus Christ of the description in the book of Revelation. Satan's interest to this effect is catering to carry people to hell, as it appear to mock God, as this action is saying that he has some of God's children in hell with him. In our language it is a small-mind reproach. Jesus Christ already made mention of that in the statement, quote, "It is not his will for any to perish." He already knows that all would not be saved, hence the reason for his sacrifice. Affirming salvation at a 30% consideration, which represents belief in him, his word and works. The agenda is for people to organize themselves in belief towards Jesus Christ. The grace Jesus Christ has introduced is a one-time offer, of which people have to make use of. There is no place for repentance whilst being in hell. This freedom Satan is trying to deprive people of by setting up devices to capture souls. Consider that the situation they are in is likened to a soccer game where the score is 5-0. They know they are going to hell and cannot escape the judgment. Reason for Satan misconducting Adam and Eve: to have the human race under his control for any use. As it is, we are bearing witness to the intent of influence with the manufacturing of a fabrication of a synthetic world system, all designed to carry people to hell. That is how important the human race is. People just have to come into alignment with the fact of their importance of being a child of God. According to law, we are all entitled to hell. Jesus Christ removed us from under the law as a favor, because of his love for us, by sacrificing himself, coming in flesh to do so, to introduce the format of grace, which is law of another nature as in apart from the original format. People understand Satan's effort and purport of capturing souls to carry people to hell. That said understanding would aid and assist in people contributing in the act of delivering their souls. Outer space exploration is contributing towards the fallen angels locating a planet to inhabit. It is not just for the human race as they advertise their service in that way. The principle of the activity is to escape the judgment. Locating another planet to inhabit means unto them escaping prison. The earth is the prison for the fallen angels. After the judgment in heaven, they were designated to earth anticipating the commencement of the judgment. Typically they come like a man in jail, waiting to be hanged, and they are furious about their mission in sorting a way out. As said previously, if they inhabit another planet, Satan can win the throne and eliminate the lake of fire judgment. Reason for this analysis is because of the fact that pertains to law, which fact is the principle of them not being on earth when the judgment time is at hand. This situation is likened to when a man escaped prison. He is not in jail for the sentence to be executed. Outer space habitation is representative to the analysis of escaping prison. The effort and the money invested is mere formality on their part. On their part, the most important thing, they have resources and technology to make the attempt. The involvement of the human race in this scenario provides evidence that the fallen angels were in the process of searching for a planet from the said time they were expelled. In their quest to this day they got the human race involved to work people like slaves who are well paid, the said people assisting in the quest to locate a planet. Therefore people are acting on their behalf knowingly and unknowingly. There are people in the Vatican, in the Freemason and Illuminati society who know exactly what they are doing, and with these people position and money does not matter. Just as how among the fallen angels, designation of positions of responsibility are already awarded to some of them in hell, they have the same designation in this align theory activity. People have to try and understand that they are desperate for a solution, which would mean them escaping the judgment and Satan winning the throne. These are some of the politicians who have been in space. John Herschel Glenn Jr. became an astronaut in 1962. He was the first American to orbit the Earth. John Leonard Swigert, Jr., also known as Jack Swigert. He was a Republican. He was an astronaut on Apollo 13 moon mission in April 1970. Harrison Hagen Schmidt, a Republican. He was a crew member for the Apollo 17 mission in December 1972. Jack R. Luzma was a Republican. He was a Skylab crew member. Edwin Jacob Garn was a senator. He flew on the Space Shuttle Discovery in 1985. Clarence William Nelson, a Democrat. He was a member of the Space Shuttle Columbia in 1986. The Bible provides references to the acts of Satan in manipulating people for his use and is as follows. 1 John 5 verse 19, "We know that we are from God, and the whole world lies in the power of the evil one." That verse is crediting the present activities of Satan. The expression in the verse "power of the evil one" reflects on his attempt to have in his possession the human race for his use, thereby taking the authority from Adam and misconducting him. Matthew 7 verses 13 to 14, "Enter by the narrow gate. For the gate is wide and the way is easy that leads to destruction, and those who enter by it are many. For the gate is narrow and the way is hard that leads to life, and those who find it are few." Again, the verse is expressing the choice that individuals make in choosing the wrong way out. Outer space is the wrong option. God created the human being to inhabit the earth. That is why we adapt to the conditions on earth, rather than adapting to the conditions in space. This is like towards configuring a fish to live on land. That is how impossible this space venture is with reference to that example of the fish ambitious to live on land. Isaiah 32 verses 1 to 8, "Behold, a king will reign in righteousness, and princes will rule in justice. Each will be like a hiding place from the wind, a shelter from the storm, like streams of water in a dry place, like the shade of a great rock in a weary land. Then the eyes of those who see will not be closed, and the ears of those who hear will give attention. The heart of the hasty will understand and know, and the tongue of the stammerers will hasten to speak distinctly. The fool will no more be called noble, nor the scoundrel said to be honorable. For this reason, according to the expression in the verse as in, each will be like a hiding place from the wind, a shelter from the storm. There is no place to hide and there is no place to run. The heavens shall be shaken. In that case, what goes up must come down for judgment. That is why I said earlier that the situation with the fallen angels are likened to a soccer match where the score is 5-0 with 1 minute to go. They know very well that they are going to the lake of fire, especially when Jesus Christ conquered death by resurrecting from the dead and walking the earth. This verse confirms my statement. Acts 17 verses 30 to 31, "The times of ignorance God overlooked, but now he commands all people everywhere to repent, because he has fixed a day on which he will judge the world in righteousness by a man whom he has appointed, and of this he has given assurance to all by raising him from the dead." The arrangement is already in place. Proverbs 29 verse 2, "When the righteous increase, the people rejoice, but when the wicked rule, the people groan." That is what will happen when the New World Order is in effect. Romans 13 verses 1 to 8, "Let every person be subject to the governing authorities. For there is no authority except from God, and those that exist have been instituted by God. Therefore whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. For rulers are not a terror to good conduct, but to bad. Would you have no fear of the one who is in authority? Then do what is good, and you will receive his approval, for he is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword in vain. For he is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer. Therefore one must be in subjection, not only to avoid God's wrath but also for the sake of conscience. When the Pope said that he would baptize aliens, this verse is a reference to his activity of wanting to baptize aliens. This verse categorically declares the policy towards fearing God as in the statement, quote, "Therefore whoever resists the authorities resists what God has appointed, and those who resist will incur judgment. Also, would you have no fear of the one who is in authority?" That is exactly what they are doing, fighting against God, the already declared policy for those who do not fear God. These people are educated, meaning they can read and understand the written content in the Bible. For this reason they are ignoring God, His Word and His works. Proverbs 29 verse 9, "If a wise man has an argument with a fool, the fool only rages and laughs, and there is no quiet." How many times God left His habitation to speak with Satan about his conduct? Proverbs 29 verse 9 provided the answer. The thing about the agenda is that people have to sort and organize their agenda, which is organizing oneself for entry into the kingdom. The way out is to make oneself approve. There are verses in the scriptures that give the information for such approval, as in Acts 5 verse 29, "But Peter and the apostles answered, 'We must obey God rather than men.'" That is what life is about, to fear God and obey His commandments. Romans 13 verse 4, "For He is God's servant for your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for He does not bear the sword in vain. For He is the servant of God, an avenger who carries out God's wrath on the wrongdoer." That is how important it is for people to fear God and obey His commandments. 1 Timothy 2 verse 1, "First of all, then, I urge that supplications, prayers, intercessions, and thanksgivings be made for all people." I am not trying to eulogize myself. In my effort I am trying to help save people. We can extend help to each other. No one can totally save another person in perfection. That verse expresses our responsibility to each other, as in watching each other backs. Matthew 5 verse 19, "Therefore whoever relaxes one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do the same will be called least in the kingdom of heaven, but whoever does them and teaches them will be called great in the kingdom of heaven." Due to the contents of this verse, I know that I am secured in the activity I am involved in and with, as in exposing this blasphemous alien theory to the best I can, and at the same time, edifying people about the benefit in fearing God and obeying His commandments to be approved. Matthew 24 verse 13, "But the one who endures to the end will be saved." There are experiences of trying times when a person is serving God, basically for the sake of us being sinners. We have to be cleansed. For example, a person is awarded 30% good and right title for believing in Jesus Christ. This was analyzed to the effect that people are paid according to their works. In this case of an individual credited 30% good and right status title, would receive 30 folds. That is what the person worked for. The reality about that person profile is that the person in principle is a 70% sinner in status and title, which said status and title illustrate the fact as follows: "The mercy of the Lord endure forever, and where sin abides grace abound even more." The 30% good and right person would be processed with the application of trying times. The trying times is the application that cleanse the inward parts. This is in contrast to when you have to sterilize an item to make it clean. You process the item with fire. Likewise, when you have to process ingredients for the preparation of a meal, the illustration, which are the ingredients, have to be processed with fire, and in this case water. to manifest the reality which is the prepared meal ready for use, as in ready to be eaten. This is the favor God does for us. That is why the scriptures say, "Joy in your trials." Why? Because you have been called and chosen for processing, which processing is better than going to the lake of fire. There was an occasion when the question was asked to Jesus Christ, why it is he speaking in parables. He said that there are people in the assembly, congregation, who must not know the truth. Definitely this action was administered because of those individuals' heart and minds towards God. The principle is the works of the Lord are for those who believe, that how important it is to be a believer, as believers are doers. People have to be careful in entertaining the prosperity ministry, as this ministry is designed to pervert people in the way of the Lord. Just as how to watch a movie in a chronological order, from one episode to the next, it is the same way people have to read their Bible, which is in a chronological order likewise, as in a chapter a day. Do so from Genesis chapter 1 for the first day as the Lord provides life, Genesis chapter 2 the following day as the Lord provides life, and so on as the Lord provides life, until you reach Revelation 22 with the life God provided for you to do so among other things. Upon completing reading the scriptures to the finish, the process of reading a chapter a day continues from the start, as in from Genesis chapter 1. If you miss a chapter, do not read 2 chapters to cover for the one that you miss out on. Read 1 chapter, as a good minister is given not to drink much wine, and at the same time it is not advisable for a person to eat a bucket of food to obtain satisfaction, as to overeat is a sin. The chapter a day principle have the same application, as in do so in good and right measure. 1 chapter a day. If you miss reading your chapter a day 3 days straight, you have to start over, regardless to where you have reached in reading, as in once is mistake, twice is a habit, and thrice is obnoxious. Reading a chapter a day would have you on the alert and ready to fight against the system in principle, that is not with flesh and blood conduct but with goodness, righteousness, and peace conduct, which is the graceful eternal way. Reading a chapter a day is the sure way to counteract the principles of the system, which is working around the system gracefully and not lawfully, as in using a direct approach. A chapter a day contributes towards conditioning. The final stage of the believer's conditioning is maturity and growth. This is analyzed to the effect of the believer obtaining 30% goodness and righteousness, progressing to the 60% and the 100% goodness and righteousness status. Along the way there is maturity and growth, but not to the fullest, especially towards the 30% and 60% stage. The maturity and growth status is related to the 100% goodness and righteousness status. That is why the scriptures say we have to study to make ourselves approved. Soaring away out of the worldly lifestyle is definitely reading the scriptures, which in this case would serve as an illustration, and the believer walk would be the reality, in acting with the nature and principle of the instruction, to manifest the will of God in the proper sphere of conduct towards goodness and righteousness. Chapter 8. The plot. One worldly attachment of the plot is related to the love of money, where a considerable amount of people have already lost their soul. A lot of this activity is related to extortion, which is selling products to make a fantastic profit. The scriptures state that extortioners would not enter into the kingdom. This view explains why Satan made a system like this for us to conduct ourselves. Also why he wanted to get the authority from Adam, to do business with the human race. The business Satan is doing with the human race, is misconducting people to carry them to hell with him. This action would appear as mocking God, but God is not mocked. The fact about who invented money is still unknown. but the use of money is conjectured to be in usage at about 5000 BC. Around 770 BC, the Lydians were the initial Western cultured people to make coins. Later, all the different countries began to make their own coins with specific values. Paper money originated in China way back during the Tang dynasty. Its use spread through other dynasties and around the world. The invention of money changed the world to this effect, and the introduction of paper currency evolved into representative money. This meant that what the money itself was made of no longer had to be of great value, pertaining especially to the barter system. Mayer Amschel Rothschild is labeled as the founder of international finance. He was a German Jewish banker and the progenitor of the Rothschild banking dynasty. Mayer Amschel Rothschild was ranked 7th on the Forbes magazine list of the 20 most influential businessmen of all time, the 19th and early 20th centuries. Mayer Rothschild descendants engaged in mining, energy, real estate, and winemaking ventures. To this day they own all the central banks in the world. That is the business that Mayer Rothschild started. The countries who have not signed in, as mentioned previously, are North Korea, Iran, and Cuba. Mayer Rothschild had 10 children. He sent his 5 sons. Nathan was based in London, James was based in Paris, Salomon was based in Vienna, Karl was based in Naples, and Amschel was based in Frankfurt, in different European cities, to expand his family's financial services in profitable areas. In order to prevent the fortune of his family from getting lost by way of inheritance laws, he did not allow the female relatives of his family to get a direct inheritance, a rule which encouraged the women of his family to get married to the men who were their relatives. On a yearly basis, the Rothschild family gross approximately $500 million. The family's banks employ nearly 3,000 people globally. Jacob Rothschild said that the family is worth $500 trillion. They publicly admit that they worship Satan and have a seat reserved for Satan at their dinner table. Satan is using this family to manipulate the world with the financial system. In the 19th century, they had significant influence in the economies of America, England, Germany, Spain, France, Italy, and Austria. With this connection Satan have with the Rothschild family, the introduction of the one world currency would be very easy to implement, just illustrating here where Satan is in charge of the world banking system via this family. The system is set for people to be very ambitious to go for the money. Even as it is today, people conduct themselves fearless in accumulating money, especially in the category of extortion, as some would term it. That is what business is about. The main plot in manipulating people is the money system, as Satan gave people the impression that life is about money, when life is about fearing God and obeying His commandments. This application of money is to move people away from God, His word, and works. With the Rothschild family controlling the banking business, they can corrupt any person or country to their desire. The favored investment by the Rothschilds is war. At times a war rely on the central bank for funding, and there are situation where the central bank fund both sides of a war. With this method they are benefiting from both sides. Putting a country in debt is another profitable way they make money. With the Rothschild, countries are turned in businesses and corporations. The Rothschild headquarters is located in Basel, Switzerland, and is recognized by all counties as being the top bank of all financial institutions in the world. The structure of their headquarters is known as the BIS, which means the Bank of International Settlement, founded in 1931. Every central bank in the world is a member of the BIS, including your country's central bank. Your political administration do not own the central bank in your country. In fact, your politicians, administrators, and business people are house slaves to the Rothschild family. People partaking in the system are plantation slaves to the Rothschild family, where the Babylon-style BIS Tower is located. It is the same location where the Nazis, during World War II, met to trade the stolen Jewish gold. The Rothschild own IMF, which is the International Monetary Fund, and World Bank, also the IRS and similar inland revenue agencies in other countries, and also the central banks. The Rothschild usually bail out countries to manipulate them into debt, and systematically pretend to help them by calculating their maximum debt in such a way that they make sure the debt can never be repaid, to keep the country committed to their business structure. The structure of their banking business is based on this mega platform. There are two mega banks that offer loans to all countries around the world, which are the World Bank and the IMF. The World Bank is jointly owned by the world's top banking families, together with the Rothschilds, who maintain the top executive positions, being the main shareholder as well. The IMF is privately owned by the Rothschilds solely. That is the transparency of the world banking system. We are all slaves until Jesus Christ establishes his kingdom. We cannot escape that fact. The above clearly states how the Rothschild practically owns countries. That is why it is a dangerous thing to borrow money from the IMF. It is not an ordinary honest bank as how the media advertise. Included on the list of banks are also the following: Central Bank of England in the City of London, Vatican Bank in Rome, Federal Reserve in Washington, D.C., and the European Central Bank, the ECB in Frankfurt. These banks are not on the open everybody viewing list. Presidents of the United States of America are programmed, along with their business, to make money for the British Crown and the Vatican, who take their share of the profits every year. The British Crown rules the independent sovereign state known as the City of London. The Crown comprises a committee of 12 banks, headed by the Bank of England, which is controlled by the Rothschilds. Nathan Mayer Rothschild made this statement in 1815 after he had bought and paid for England, quote, "I care not what puppet is placed upon the throne of England to rule the empire on which the sun never sets. The man who controls Britain's money supply controls the British Empire, and I control the British money supply." See why I said the politicians, business people, and the working class are slaves for the Rothschilds? Because of that said statement made by Nathan Mayer Rothschild, the Rothschilds have influence in the management of the New World Order. They have influence in the European Union, the Euro, and the ECB, which should be the European Brewery Convention. They are also influential in the North American Union and the Amero currency, which is to become the new currency for the American continent. They control the world's secret services, which include the CIA, MI5, MI6 and Mossad. Their private army is NATO and their government is the UN. Governments compromise and maintain the stability of their country by paying taxes. The consideration, which is 13% of the tax money brought in, goes directly back to the privately owned banking system. That is how the Rothschilds grossed $500 trillion, which should be more by the time you read this document. 99% of the Earth's population is controlled by an elite 1%. The elite 1% are governed by the Rothschilds. The War of Waterloo. Nathan Mayer Rothschild in 1813 helped finance the British to end the war. The amount he provided would be the equivalent to $900 million today. Rio Tinto, a mining company in Melbourne, Australia, was founded by the Rothschilds. In 1919, the Rothschilds began meeting twice a day to set the price of gold. The daily meetings commenced from 1919 to 2004, after which Barclays took the position that the Rothschilds held. When the Rothschild have a party, they extend the invitation by this method. They send the message of the invitation in reverse format. The message is readable by using a mirror to read it. The Rothschilds donated loans to the Papal States and various kings of Naples, the Duchy of Parma, and the Grand Duchy of Tuscany. The Naples branch of the Rothschild family had become tied to the Vatican Bank. In 1832, Karl von Rothschild was not required to kiss Pope Gregory's feet. President Grover Cleveland negotiated with Nathaniel Mayer Rothschild, who collaborated with J.P. Morgan, to provide a loan to the United States government to pay off its outstanding debts. The plot is centered on having people love money, pivoted on this axis. The revolving thereof is a happy hour ride, and that is confirmed with reference to the above details, to the extent that people would do anything to have lots of it. From this particular activity pertaining to the plot, we have to engage in reading the scriptures, doing so regularly, attentively, and comprehensively. That is why God manifested himself in flesh, for us to know him, his word and works. Chapter 9. Alternatives. The options of choice represents the alternative action that can be dealt with to secure safety and security for individuals. This action would pertain only to the perfection of obedience, which represents the perfection of life, contrasting with the statement, fear God and obey his commandments. There are the instances where an individual can experience suffering in administering the act of obedience. Examples of that fact is when Jesus Christ experienced suffering during the crucifixion. Even before the crucifixion process, he prayed for deliverance on 3 occasions and received no answer. When he was on the cross he said, "Lord, Lord, why have you forsaken me?" When Jesus Christ experienced suffering during the crucifixion, that illustrate to us that during suffering times, we have to endure as the level of the suffering have a significance, in this instance to deliver the human race from death, by judgment of the lake of fire. Therefore with us when we are experiencing a certain amount of suffering, it is for a good and right reason. The level of suffering is recommended to suit the type of sin. See how Jesus Christ's suffering for us was extreme, regardless of the appearance of the action, that have nothing to do with the fulfilling of it. Even before the crucifixion process, he prayed for deliverance on 3 occasions and received no answer. Why? Because the nature of the suffering action have to be fulfilled, to represent the perfection of obedience. So with us we could be in the position of praying for deliverance towards a subject or matter, and in so doing our prayers go unanswered. When something like that is happening, just admit to yourself that is your joy to conduct with. I express the suffering period as joy, because the scriptures said joy in your trials, regardless how intense the suffering is. Reason for the joyful action during suffering is because the type of suffering you are experiencing, and the place where you are experiencing the suffering, is not compatible with the lake of fire. The type of suffering you are suffering would not be forever, as with the policy towards the lake of fire. The time period you are suffering is not compatible with the policy of the lake of fire, where the policy is forever. This is what Satan is afraid of, being in torment forever. That is what doing anything to get out of the situation is about. Our suffering would appear burdensome, in the figure of the nature of it. It is really so. Reason why the scriptures say, no trying time is joyous but grievous. In experiencing trying times you might feel that God does not care about you. He does. The level of suffering you are experiencing is the recommended requirement for the cleansing of your inward parts, One reason for suffering is the processing of the inward parts, come like sterilizing an instrument for use. You have to sterilize it by way of the fire or heat process. Same principle is for preparing a meal, by way of the fire. When he was on the cross he said, "Lord, Lord, why have you forsaken me?" This illustration illustrates that God does not have a relationship with sinners to this effect. Quote, "He who knew no sin, was made sin for us." This statement is credited to the act of Jesus Christ overriding the law to put grace in effect. If he did not override the law to put grace in effect, the format of the law would be still in effect, and that would mean that everybody would be going to the lake of fire, with or without asking for forgiveness. Because the principle of the law pertaining to its protocol, have no mercy and no forgiveness, as judgment is final with the protocol of the law, understanding that expression would give you the reason and clarity towards God manifesting himself in flesh, coming in the name of Jesus Christ, to deliver us by grace. Jesus Christ's sacrifice is not a law sacrifice, it is a graceful sacrifice. If it was lawful, the animal would be used as the sacrifice, but as it is graceful, Jesus Christ is the sacrifice. He being the sacrifice means that he fulfilled the law terms and conditions, also defeating Satan in the process by conquering death, also putting the format of grace in effect. So you see how much things were done by grace. That is how grace abounds even more. Grace is a format of law that preserves life in some way or another. There are other examples in the scriptures that illustrate suffering for the sake of righteousness. For instance, Job. Job suffered for the sake of righteousness, being tried by Satan. This an action that can happen to us as well. Hence the reason of the scriptures and how important it is. With illustration with Job, this action illustrates Satan could seek permission to try us, with the hope of configuring us to be part of the package to go to hell. The scriptures in this instance is illustrating that what Job did, you do that. Tough as it is in experiencing trying, do not forsake God. The trying times experience does not say that God has cast you out. Come like what is written in the book of Hebrews 12 verses 5 to 11, quote, "And you have forgotten the exhortation which speaks to you as to sons. My son, do not despise the chastening of the Lord, nor be discouraged when you are rebuked by him. For whom the Lord loves he chastens, and scourges every son whom he receives." If you endure chastening, God deals with you as with sons. For what son is there whom a father does not chasten? But if you are without chastening, of which all have become partakers, then you are illegitimate and not sons. Furthermore, we have had human fathers who corrected us, and we paid them respect. Shall we not much more readily be in subjection to the Father of spirits and live? For they indeed for a few days chastened us as seemed best to them, but he for our profit, that we may be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening seems to be joyful for the present, but painful. Nevertheless, afterward it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness to those who have been trained by it. That is clarity towards the fact of suffering. It is a privilege God created for us in expressing his love for us. It is better to experience the chastening of the Lord than to experience the judgment of the lake of fire. The chastening of the Lord is for a limited period of time, but the judgment of the lake of fire is for eternity. The word judgment means decision. We escaped the decision, meaning the decision that have no configuration according to the law. As judgment is final, we entered his chastening, meaning, the chastening represents the consolation. Why? The chastening is a consolation in comparison to the eternal state and conditions of the lake of fire. God is doing this favor because he knows what is the contents and elements that make up the lake of fire. reason why he made that urgent move to save humanity from dying forever. Dying forever is living in the lake of fire, as in being present there. Living forever is living in the kingdom or in Jerusalem, being present there. With this illustration we can see the love God have for humanity, especially with that accredited favor of salvation starting at 30% good and right status entitled by believing in Him, His Word and His works. That is how simple He made salvation for the entirety of humanity. He cares about His most important creation, reason why He made the sacrifice. This likened to when a person caring for another person, make a sacrifice to deliver his friend. So from the example God illustrate we can see what a friend is really about, giving his life for his friend. Would you give your life for your friend? That is a tough question. At the same time, that is what a true friend is about. The situation with Jonah. Jonah was instructed to go to Nineveh to preach the word of God, to convert and in so doing save souls. Jonah diverted the activity to go to Nineveh, thereby contributing to his placement in the belly of a great fish. This illustration shows what is the product of disobedience, initial suffering in some way or another. So when people act disobedient, like Jonah, the said people make it possible and contribute to their placement in the lake of fire. The conditions and experience Jonah was enduring is something like the lake of fire, that is to say, being in the interior of a fish belly. The ambience thereof would pertain to the noise of the inward parts of the fish, the view of the inward parts of the fish and the aroma of the liquids and whatever composition is released as fragrance. Hell is something like Jonah's experience. Taking caution from Jonah's experience should be edifying enough towards being obedient. Obedience reflects to the perfection of life. In other words, obedience to God is what life is about. On this note, the scriptures did not define the type of fish. It is not possible for the whalebone or toothless whales to swallow a man, because their throats are less than a foot in diameter. The great white shark or the great sperm whale or cachalot can swallow a man whole. Sperm whales have been found to contain pieces of squid larger than the body of a human being. However, other than these species of fish, there is another large fish known as the rhinodon, which is also known as the whale shark, which can attain a length of 70 feet. In the scriptures pertaining to Jonah's account, in the original text the great fish is expressed as a sea monster. The word was mistranslated as stipulated in the Schofield Reference Bible, from sea monster to whale. Here is a reference to a whaling ship which was filled by the tail of a sperm whale, which would assist in the definition to a certain extent. In 1891 a whaling ship was flipped by the tail of a large sperm whale. A member of the crew was missing from that encounter. They pursued the fish, however, by what means they did and caught the said fish. In hauling the fish to the deck they decided to remove the whale's stomach. In so doing they found their missing friend unconscious, but parts of his skin remained white in color, as a result of the whale's gastric juices. This illustration is in contrast with Adam and Eve, where it is suggested that Adam and Eve ate an apple. The Bible never said what type of fruit they ate, nor defined its profile in a descriptive way. These facts are illustrated to encourage people to have a metaphysical Bible dictionary to aid and assist in definitions and confirmations, as there are a lot of lying done pertaining to subjects and matters in the scriptures. Hence be careful of the biblical movies you entertain yourself with. A lot of times they illustrate subjects and matters for their blasphemous agenda, making alternatives for people to make the wrong decision and perceive the wrong concept. Chapter 10. Confirmation. With the outlined descriptions illustrated, it is factual that this alien theory is a fabrication. which is highlighted is to stage an illusion based on an alien attack. This is to panic people and to give opportunity to the administration of the New World Order, access towards gaining people confidence as they in the staging of the illusion of an alien attack, would appear as heroes in defeating the aliens. The venturing into spaces, in my opinion, is another avenue Satan is using in making a way out of the judgment, by securing a planet to live on or destroying the universe. With either option he can win the throne. The alien theory serves as a false doctrine of another angel, to misconduct people into hell because of believing in a doctrine that is apart from the scriptures. The alien theory gives way for the elite slaves, who are involved in the outer space project and the alien theory, to gross finance by advertising and eulogizing the doctrine of alienism and outer space livity. Also, the ambitious scientific slaves have the opportunity to gain prestige to their blasphemous inventions and innovative project and theory. People would actually get the opportunity to visit space to experience the ambience. They are definitely not going to be inhabiting space. The human body was not designed for that particular atmospheric sphere. Picking sense out of nonsense. Why venture on a project that is approximately 35% foolproof? Why spend a huge consideration of money to facilitate a venture with an approximated 35% foolproof security? Why is exploring space more important than repairing the Earth? Why are the fallen angels using people to assist in their venture, when the fallen angels are equipped with the knowledge? Obvious questions to prove that Satan is frightened and panicking about the lake of fire judgment, as I assume with the attempt to destroy the earth. Time has run out on them, so they are sorting this hurry makeshift way, as advertising to people the contents of space to educate them, when in fact they are sorting a way out of the judgment. That is why I said previously, they are in the position likened to a soccer match, where the score is 5-0 with 1 minute to go. They know they are going to the lake of fire, just as how when a soccer team is facing defeat in a soccer match, in this case, before the game is ended, at times the spectators leave the stadium. The spectators leaving the stadium are the supporters of the losing team. Therefore the spectators here in this illustration are the people involved in the spending of the money and inventors. They would give up on their endeavors, but there is a side effect to this action. They could be threatened or eliminated. That is what the commitment is like in the secret societies. There are people who get involved and after gaining their lust decide to leave. Come like the music artist Eminem, who in his song titled Hellbound, mentioned to the effect that he would like to get back his soul which he sold. There are some who would like to come out of it. It come like the song titled Hotel California by the Eagles, which quote, "When you get into Hotel California you cannot come out." These people definitely sold their souls to gain the world, which would profit them nothing, as 1 minute in the lake of fire would instruct them of the vain works that they were involved in. The example of the rich man and the poor man from the scriptures, where the rich man is asking Abram to give him a drop of water, and he wants to come again to the earth to tell his relatives to live good with people, where the evil dead go, is a compartment that is similar to hell until the judgment. When people reach in that compartment when they die, they know for sure that they are going to hell. That compartment is very hot and has no water. Is just that Satan as usual is not telling the truth about his judgment, as the fallen angels know the time and condition of their judgment. Imagine a man escorted by prison officers to the gallows. What are the thoughts of that man? That is what is going on with Satan and the 1/3. They are afraid, arrogant, and furious about their judgment, and casting hits with the hope that one of the hits would bear fruit. What does some of the elite slaves have to say about a space invasion? Quote, Ronald Reagan, that if the Earth faced an invasion by extraterrestrials, the United States and the Soviet Union would join forces to repel such an invasion, Barack Obama said, quote, "When it comes to aliens, there's some things I just can't tell you on air," he said. Also, when he came into office, "When I came into office, I asked, is there the lab somewhere where we're keeping the alien specimens and spaceship? They did a little bit of research and the answer is no, but what is true, and I'm actually being serious here, is there's footage and records of objects in the skies that we don't know exactly what they are. We can't explain how they moved, their trajectory. They did not have an easily explainable pattern. Reggie might secretly be an alien, remember in Men in Black? Do we know what he looks like behind those glasses? Right? I mean, his eyes might blink in the wrong direction." George Bush, former U.S. President, was interviewed by Jimmy Kimmel about alienism as follows, quote, "When you were in office, did you go through the secret files of the UFO documents?" Answer: maybe. You know, it's funny, my daughters asked the very same question. But I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you anything. Are there really great secrets that you know that you can't share with people? He mentioned that he did not want to talk about that subject. This is the same interviewer that interviewed Barack Obama. Bill Clinton, another former U.S. president, comments, quote, "He wondered whether both sides would cooperate more should the planet be under alien threat. The answer is yes." The Men in Black movie is about a Russian documentary about aliens rather than the Hollywood blockbuster movie. Pope Francis, in a sermon at St. Peter's Square, said, quote, "Forthcoming event in which the earth will be consumed by hellfire from above." In the United States, he said, quote, "On 3 occasions he was visited by heavenly beings, who warned him of an impending crisis." This statement is likened to the cell phone before it came out on the market. What they have planned they usually advertise up front. The question is, what are heavenly beings? Surely he is referring to the fallen angels known and referenced to as aliens. Earlier in the document it was illustrated that Mussolini have a hand in the structuring of the Vatican, and in the movie The Devil's Advocate, Al Pacino, who acted the role of Satan, said, quote, "He came in the person of Mussolini, therefore with the said saying from that movie, Satan is the owner of the Vatican." The Pope also carded a meeting with the United Nations General Assembly to confer with Barack Obama, Russian President Vladimir Putin, to discuss defensive options. This is in relation to what was said by Norio Hayakawa, a UFO investigator, quote, "This plan is called Project Panic, and that high technology equipment will be used to create an optical illusion of a UFO invasion. This will give governments and the United Nations the excuse to call a global state of emergency, and all those emergency powers and executive orders will be implemented." Jens Stoltenberg, NATO Secretary General, said, quote, "NATO is working closely with our counterparts around the globe to explore every viable resource available. The confirmation is that they are planning an alien invasion, just as how the COVID-19 virus was released, an activity of panic and on their part manipulation for the sole cause to put the New World Order in effect. People are asked and requested to traffic this information from this document as much as possible, to educate their neighbor about this alien theory plot and fabricated alien invasion, so that they would not be surprised by the intended staged fabricated alien invasion." Zion Connection Production gives thanks to the people who have participated in the reading, in the viewing of the video on YouTube, also in the trafficking of both the document and the video. Grace and peace to all in Jesus Christ's name. Additional information. The determination from the document titled The Assumption of Principality pertaining to the Heavenly Logic, which is a mathematical equation illustrating the nature of the law, is in 1 + 1 = 1, where the plus sign is viewed as an attachment towards increase and not profit. The heavenly logic is correct for the use in principality by God, creating living creatures and things, in perfection forever. This is the logic that God uses to create any living creatures and things forever in perfection, with His word and breath of life, as in 1 + 1 + His word and His breath of life. The 1 + 1 represents the idea for the creature or thing. This logic is not in agreement with the earth logic, where 1 + 1 = 2, where 1 + 1 = 2 is correct for business and business activity, and the manufacturing of artificial products. This formula was designed to destroy the earth, through business, which is pivoted on economics and commerce, with the principle of the economic and commercial system, pivoted on the earth logic 1 + 1 = 2. It is so designed to destroy the earth before the judgment time, for them to escape the lake of fire judgment. Like unto the alien theory and space exploration, Satanists say that Satan created the universe. Then why is he searching it out? Equating the heavenly logic would be as follows. 1 + 1 = 1 is 2. 2 = 1 with reference to the above. It is not equal to 2, it is realistically 2. 2 - 1 = 1. Minus is equated for the sake of righteousness and peace. In the first step of the equation can be likened to a marriage relationship, where the 1 + 1 is the man and the woman equal in manifesting a marriage relationship. The second step, where 2 = 1, represents the 2 shall be 1, according to the law of marriage. 2 - 1 = 1 represents when one is taken away. The one that remains can get married if so desired. That is the oath of marriage according to the law. That is why it is adultery for a man or woman to be legally married with their partner alive, due to the term and condition of the oath, as in, "Till death do we part," also what is written in the book of Matthew 5 verse 32. But I say to you that whoever divorces his wife for any reason except sexual immorality causes her to commit adultery, and whoever marries a woman who is divorced commits adultery. According to this instruction, the only reason why a man or a woman can act with a divorce action, is if either one commits fornication. For this reason 1 + 1 = 1 is the mathematical equation illustrating the nature of the law. Hence, the heavenly logic can be used in diverse ways to assume principality in any sphere. The consideration in each step of the equation represents one whole or a scale in perfect balance. Equating the earth logic. 1 + 1 = 2 is 2 = 2, which profile is 2 parts, looking together, not like 1. Because 1 + 1 = 2 is profit. 2 - 2 = 0, with reference to the consideration of each step, the scale would not be equal. At the same time, in some cases that is what business is about. With reference to the second step, towards the third step, could be the reason for the high divorce rate, as people are pivoted by the money business, which is governed with the logic 1 + 1 = 2, correct for business and business activity. Marriage is an activity, and in some cases a business. Some people might not observe that women attire themselves in black when they visit the Pope. The following photos would prove that fact. The reason for women dressing in black upon visiting the Pope relates to a custom from 4,000 years ago, which is attached to what is termed as Illuminist symbolism. Illuminist symbolism is the compounding of the all-seeing eye with a 13-step unfinished pyramid, The dress code of the Pope attired in white designate him as God or the Vicar of Christ on earth. The symbolism dates back to Zarathustra and Zoroastrianism. Zarathustra is the founder of the pagan religion of Zoroastrianism. In this photo there is a halo around his head, which makes him a divine being. Zarathustra wore white only during the course of his ministry, which was attributed to him as a form of spiritual status and title as a god. The Pope attired in white pertaining to this protocol is upholding the custom of Zoroastrianism, enhancing in principle the profile Zarathustra. That is how the title Vicar of Christ and the deity profile of Zarathustra are affiliated. With this occult religion, the color black and white has significance. The color white is adapted of all colors, and black is a lack of color. According to this theory, the color black have to give way to the color white, which is stating that the color white is more important than the color black. In the photo the observation is with the hand and finger position and sign. Zarathustra has a hand position and the thumb extended to the right and slightly up, with the forefinger pointing upward. This hand sign is called a mudra, which is defined in the Dictionary of Mysticism as a mystic seal of Oriental occultism, which purports towards the hand sign, with focus placed on the index finger held upward, crediting the hand position to have magical effects. This is compatible to the profile of the Baphomet that Satanists worship. Also, this is in contrast to the false portrait of Cesar Borgia which is advertised in depicting Jesus Christ. Take note of the positioning of the fingers. It is the same as in the photo of Zarathustra and the Baphomet. Satan, in my opinion, transformed himself into an angel of light on several occasions. This statement is confirmed from what was said by Al Pacino, who acted the role of Satan in the movie The Devil's Advocate. Quote, "I came as Mussolini, Hitler, and Napoleon." In that scene he also said that he is responsible for the culturing of the human race. Zarathustra has in his hand a staff of authority or rod, in his left hand. This rod is also a symbol of the Lucifer deity. The Pope's staff on which the crucifix is fastened is connected to the Zarathustra staff of authority. The staff of authority is another symbol of the Illuminati, depicting the authority of Satan. The significance of black and white in the occult society is related to yin and yang of the Chinese culture. Members of the occult believe that it is representative to the nature and alignment of balance in nature. The meaning of yin and yang in Chinese culture would be as follows. Yin represents white, significant to the day, and yang represents black, significant to the night, in the original description towards the Shang dynasty. Yin and yang represent white and black respectively. This symbol is from the sundial shadow. Two Catholic priests have spoken out towards the fact that Satan lives in the Vatican. They excommunicated Malachi Martin, who made the following statement as in, "This is Archbishop Milingo. This is when he got married after he was excommunicated." They know the truth about Satan's existence in the Vatican, hence the Mussolini involvement in the structuring of the Vatican, which Al Pacino, who acted as Satan in the movie The Devil's Advocate, said. He came in the person of Mussolini, Hitler, and Napoleon. The Catholic priests confirm the fact towards what was said by Al Pacino, who acted as Satan in the movie The Devil's Advocate. What is informative also is the different family branches the Rothschilds have around the world. Alexander Hamilton was born Alexander Levine, of Jewish lineage, in St. Croix, the West Indies. He married into the Rothschild family December 14, 1780. Other lineages are related to the following countries: France, England, America, Germany. Adolf Hitler is a member of the Rothschild family. His father, who is Alois Hitler, was the son of Maria Anna Schicklgruber. He was born Alois Skickelgruber and changed his name to Alois Hitler. He was the son of Baron Rothschild. Adolf Hitler joined a secret society called the Thule Society. In this group he found the beliefs that gave him control of the German government. With the Thule Society, the sun has a special significance, as a sacred symbol of the Aryans. In addition to sun worship, the Thule Society also practiced Satan worship. The raising of Hitler hand was adopted in 1930, to show respect and obedience to Adolf Hitler. This document should give a perfect view of the Satanic World Elite Society. Please view more facts as made available.